Happy Monday, degenerates. Welcome back to the Die Hard MMA podcast. It is Monday. We are headed back to the UFC Apex. We have a fresh, hot, greasy dumpster for you all to dive into here with us this week. And I am rocking the baby blues. 2-fight win streak, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. We have got a 2-event. It is officially a streak. 1 win, no streak. 2 wins, we can call it a streak. It might be the first streak of 2026. I got the short notice call. Hunter and Dana asked me to wake up at 1 a.m. and gamble on women's 115-pound fighters, and I did it. I'm a company man, so I got a 4-fight contract extension. We are hot. We are rocking it, and hopefully we can keep it going. We can turn all this bad juju around. Welcome into the show, everybody. How is everybody doing? We have got Muhammad in the house. We got my guy Dream, the Andy G. What is going on? Benzie MMA, Cam Stewart, what is up? Louis Mack Jr., Majin Flex, my boy Ethan Hershey, Joshua Cook. What's up, everybody? Welcome into the show. As usual, please do me a favor, hit that like button, hype this bad boy up. Let's freaking get into it. And of course, we've got VGO under a different username in the chat, so we'll take it. Vic, what's going on, buddy? Appreciate you all being here. I am excited. We're talking about UFC Vegas 118. It's going to be a fun card for us to go ahead and break down. Actually, some very intriguing fights here on this card, but more so than that, one of my favorite guests to have on the show is back this week. My boy Dan Tom. What is going on, buddy? How you doing?
What's up, man? I'm ready to rock, dude. I'm excited to be back to talk with you. You got the blue shirt deservedly in tow. I'm always wearing a black shirt, but we're working our way to the black, right? So that's where we're headed this week as well, my friend.
I like it. I like it. It sounds like you're coming off of a pretty good week yourself.
Yeah, man. Pretty decent week. Plus 4.23 units. More important part, like we were kind of talking before, Clint, is just being able to try to put a streak together has been, much harder than it should be. It feels like for many of us, myself included, for sure. And 3 in a row feels pretty good. I'm going to try to protect it this week, and I'm really excited to share what I got for you. I got some Southpaw stats and Apex stats for the whole card. And since I don't have a podcast technically right now, this means this is the only show that's getting those stats, folks. So you tuned into the right program.
Love to hear it. That is what is up. And oh no, Dan, we have bad news. We have bad news. My man Joshua Cook tunes in and says, turkey season is over. You're on your own this week. My boy Joshua has been out turkey hunting, listening to the podcast, and it is no coincidence that we're on a 2-fight win streak while he's been out turkey hunting. So now that he's home, we're really going to test the luck here, test the knowledge, because I don't have that turkey luck coming from my boy Josh anymore. Oh, man. I'm so ready to go on this thing. I got to tell you, though, you guys, I'm still coming off of vacation mode. I'm still getting back into the groove. And, Dan, I got to tell you, I hate the beach. I've got a beach wifey and I got a beach daughter. They're little mermaids, and I'm still finding sand and crevices where it just shouldn't be. It takes months to get the sand off of you after a week at the beach. I mean, one of these days I'm gonna shit a pearl because I missed a piece of sand that's slowly gonna harden up in there or something like that. But I can't wait. We're talking fights. We've got a normal time thank God I don't have to stay up until or wake up early at like 1 a.m. My sleep schedule is going to be fucked for like the next week because I decided to watch the stupid Macau fights. But it was worth it. It was worth it because I got to win.
There we go.
Oh man, real quick, let's recap last week's fights just a little bit for the people. I always like to run over the previous card. China did a Canada, man. China got their asses whooped in their backyard. It was pretty one-sided. Poor Loma Lukbunmi. I felt really bad. I want to fade Jacqueline Amarim. I just do. And I bet on her this week, man. I bet on her because I felt like the grappling was just going to be too much. But I did have a hot take. I thought it was going to go the full 15 minutes. Of course not. It's your classic round one sub from Jacqueline Amarim. Loma looked good with the submission defense for a minute there. I thought she was going to kind of be able to survive, but that armbar, man, she's going to need elbow surgery, I'm pretty sure, after that one.
Yeah, that was rough. That was rough to watch, man. Gave me like a Misha Tate, Ronda Rousey flashbacks there for the old schoolers.
Yeah, no kidding. Let's see. Rodrigo Vera came out and smoked Zhu. That was one where I was tempted to fade Zhu, just my blatant road to UFC fade type of thing. I kind of liked Vera, but I didn't feel confident of doing anything about it. He looked awesome.
Same.
So it's going to be fun to see where he goes. And, man, I got to tell you, I'm a coward. I chickened out on Angie Hill. I know they were flying her into enemy territory very intentionally, that I'm like, she should win this fight, man, but I think they're going to rob her. So I played the spread. She ran away with that fight. She was like a minus 800 in that fight. There was never a doubt. It could have been an easy, like, I'm not complaining. I hit, right? Like, I made my money, but it could have been an easy plus 170 casher. And I got the plus 3.5 spread at like minus 160.
I've done that before as a point spread guy. I know what you mean. But I will say, interesting note just to keep track of for us bettors. We track the ages, right? And I've said this for a while, but Angie Hill kind of proved it again this weekend, Clint, where with the women's division, age isn't as much of a factor, I feel like, I'm not going to, pretend that I know the exact reasons for, but I just don't feel like they fall off a cliff as fast. You either kind of have that athleticism and fight in you in these women's divisions, or you don't. I feel like, I don't know. Am I crazy to say that, Clint?
I mean, a little bit, not really.
Okay.
I especially feel like some of the elite prospects, like I always say they age like fine wine, man. Some of these women, like, look at Holly Holm. She's in the best shape of her life, obviously. Yeah. Probably on all the gear outside the UFC right now. But I mean, she's rocking abs that I'm jealous of at 43, 44 years old. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, some of these women, they just tend to hang around, Yeah,
they do, man. They do.
It's good stuff. I will say, Dan, I messed up. Okay, I messed up. Ray Tetsuria was my favorite spot on last week's card. Okay. And because I didn't have my usual process, I felt a little rushed. I usually like to wake up on Saturday morning, get a little caffeine in me. If I'm making any changes or making any late adds to the card or throwing any money around, it happens on Saturday morning. Well, because there was no Saturday morning last week, I did a late undefeated post weigh-in show. I'm tired. I'm blurry-eyed. I'm through the whole week. Yeah. And so I'm trying to put my card together late at night after coming home from vacation and doing a stream that I just was not 100% all there. I literally thought I had Ray Tetsuria in a parlay. I did not. I thought I had him in a parlay. I did not have him in a parlay. So I did go 1 unit on his inside the distance prop, but it should have been like a 2 or 3 units on the inside the distance prop. He should have been in like a big, fat, juicy parlay. I thought I had more exposure to him. I did not. So again, I'm not complaining. I won. I made money, but I really should. That was like a hammer it type spot, man. I felt so good about that spot. So hindsight, I really feel like I fumbled the bag on that one.
Hey, listen, man, you didn't say it. You didn't use it as an excuse. I'm going there, folks. But I will say you put enough of us Asians on the card, man. We're gonna confuse y'all. So I'll just leave that out there. I said it, not Clint.
he went Super Saiyan. There was no confusing him with anybody else. I knew exactly who my boy was.
Yeah, I could see casuals thinking, Tatsuro Taira's back already. Maybe especially with the style. But I know what you mean, man. I was actually gonna stay away from that fight, and I ended up adding. So I did the opposite. I actually added him last minute because I'm like, what are you doing, Dan? Why aren't you having him in here? This guy was on your prospects to watch list back in 2023 with Joshua Van before either of them were in the UFC, much less before they fought each other. And there's something else which will be apropos to a matchup that we're going to break down on this coming card, Clint, where I'm in the same shape and form as you explain sometimes. And I can't remember what fight it was. It might have been actually the fighter we're going to talk about, spoiler alert, Jordan Levin's last fight. I forgot that there was a weight change in there, right? So I knew that Garule was going overseas, and I was leaning towards Saruya. That wasn't unknown or crazy, but I totally forgot that Garule was going up a division. And once I remembered that, Clint, I was like, oh, fire. Is that you ever done that where you kind of forget, like, oh, you kind of biff where the fight is even taking place? You're like, oh wait,
absolutely,
duh. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's where, man, with Garule, I'm just down on him generally. I don't think he's going to make it very long in the UFC, but him turning around quick again across the sea, I was like, Ray's going to whoop this dude's ass. Like I was since Monday, man, I've been all in on the guy. And then, like I said, just distractions, vacation, like it's on me. That's my own fault, but I could have profited big on that one.
Sure.
Cody Haddon, really impressive for him going out there and doing what he did with the Arichi Lang. Obviously, you got to respect Arichi Lang striking. He had to kind of do what he had to do with the grappling, but it was cool to see that the kid is well-rounded enough to pull off that kind of a game plan as well. So levels to his game, exciting prospect there. Ming Ding and Jose Henrique, this was maybe the drama of the evening. Close fight. I kind of had it scored 29-28 for Ming Ding, I feel like. And then 30-27 came out for Jose Henrique. Like, Henrique's a fade, dude. I think he squeezed 100. By this one. He got a little lucky. I can't wait. Give this guy a tougher matchup, and he's going to be real easy to bet against in a couple of fights.
Yeah, those legs are asking to be kicked, and he's already cutting a lot of weight for that division. So yeah, with the attitude he was carrying before and after, didn't like that. But be careful saying you're going to score from Ming Ding. The waves will come after you, my friend. People were getting upset. People were getting upset because I said the leg kicks were effective, and they drew the most reaction of the fight.
Yeah.
And and people like get mad at me. I'm like, you can get mad at me, but like even like the professional fighters commentary cage side said it, and the fighter himself who was getting kicked said it and thought he wasn't winning. But all right, like I don't know what to tell you.
Right. Sometimes you just can't help people, man. I don't know what to do with that one. But then him getting on the microphone and like screaming about becoming champion, like, don't get me wrong, dude. Danny's 25 years old. I was 25, cocky, young and dumb once too. And if I was on the UFC stage, I probably would have been an absolute monster. But it's like, dude, chill. You won a split decision that I don't think you won. And you're like screaming about being champion at the hometown crowd. Like, if he submitted their boy, if it was like I just massacred the guy that you were cheering for, what's up now, like that's one thing. But winning a split decision that not a soul was entertained by, get off the stage with that shit, kid.
And dude, did you see that they cut away to his to the reaction of his team, like which they'll normally do for the post-fight interview? And I don't know if you saw the cutaway. They were just leaning against the cage, just like not entertained at all. They weren't even clapping for their boy. They were just like, "Oh, this again!" Like you could tell, like they're sick of it too. Like, "Oh, this guy must be a trip to be around, huh?"
Oh my god, no kidding. Luis Felipe Diaz doing the damn thing. Everybody had him by sub. He goes in there and does the thing by knockout. Another just explosive monster from Brazil. He'll be fun to watch. Maybe a guy that'll cost me some money because I'm sure I'm going to be ready to fade him once or twice, and he might show up with a big performance, but fun nonetheless. This is the one really that pissed me off, though, Dan. Jake Matthews and Carlston Harris. I had the under 2.5. I had the under 2.5. And Jake Matthews could have finished that fight at literally any point in time. He had mount multiple times, and he just kept going for that rear naked choke. Now, I know that's his move. I know he's good with the rear naked choke, but when you have a guy like Harris mounted multiple times, all you got to do is throw. Like, it could have been a pitter-pattery, like King Kong style drum beating. Like, the ref was ready to step in and do the damn thing. And then he face plants him. Round 3 starts, and he face plants Carlston Harris. He follows up and wakes him up. It was a walk-off, Dan. Like, he could have just put his arms up and it was over. I was robbed blind on this under 2.5. And that really pissed me off because Jake Matthews is a guy that costs me, whether I'm betting on him or against him. He costs me no matter what, every time.
Yeah, he's one of those guys, and I definitely got burned the last time, so I was a little scared of that, Clint, because I was like, this was the next closest bet that almost made my slate, and I'm sure you've done this before, Clint, where there's bets where you're not even on, but you just tweet like your sympathies because you were like, that was a bad beat, and that was me. I tweeted, I wasn't even on it, and I was like, absolute sympathies, because one thing that scared me away and didn't make sense and it's more infuriating is that the line, Clint, I felt like that should have been like minus 150, minus 160. I thought minus 140, minus 130 was a deal. It was creeping all the way to minus 120, almost even money before the fight. Somebody knew something we didn't or something, but that was a brutal beat.
It was tough. It was really rough to watch. People were saying that Jake Matthews had, somebody bet the over, that kind of thing, right? Because he kept fishing for that sub and it was nowhere near close. And I'm like, I'm sus, man. I'm sus. But Alex Perez and Sumadarji, this is the one that we got to take a minute here on. So first and foremost, I just want to say I was on Alex Perez. And Dan, I have been on a lot of really, really shitty bounces for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I, like you, I jumped online and immediately apologized to the Sumadarji bettors and was like, you guys had it in the bag. It was a great read. You've been robbed. You deserved better. Come to find out, Alex Perez won round 1 on 2 of the 3 judges' scorecards, Dan.
Yep.
Alex Perez had won the first round, and that's not speculation. That's fact. In round 2, Sue obviously was winning that round, but it was not a 10-8. And then if there had been a foul or a deduction, we're looking at worst case a draw, my man. It would have been a draw round in the second. And then the third round, let's just pretend for a second that the fight continued and Sue kept doing what he was doing. It's probably 1-1-1, which means it would have been a draw of the fight anyway. So I feel a little less bad about that fight after the scorecards got released. But in the moment, I really did feel like it was kind of a runaway fight for Sue. I was a little surprised that 2 of the judges gave Alex Perez the first round. But it makes me feel better about my read that I was kind of at least on to something there. And see, that's one thing though, where Seb is saying that Sue was going to finish. Nobody knocks out Alex Perez, my guy. Nobody knocks out Alex Perez. So I don't know that he was going to finish. I think it was probably going to go the distance because Sumadarji always goes the distance. And he was also trying to flex some of his grappling in that fight. So I'm not entirely certain that it was just a runaway. For sure, he was going to get the finish. Either way, the biggest thing for me, man, was that they posted the next day that he was in the hospital with testicular swelling. So for me, I fought with the trolls for hours over this one. Every single person who had a Sumadarji ticket was just screeching into the void about how Alex Perez quit and how he looked for a way out. And you guys got the wrong guy. Yeah. Alex Perez has gone out on his shield multiple times for us in the cage. He never stops fighting. He never stops working. He never stops getting after it. That is not the guy who's going to fold up shop and quit when the going gets tough. And we've seen it. He's earned our respect in that matter. Okay. So like, let's all just pump the brakes a little bit on this whole Alex Perez quit thing. We are men, Dan. Most of us, right? If you check your YouTube analytics, 99% of us watching this show right now, we are all men. Those of us who have trained, if you guys have ever had your balls pinched in a cup before, I can only imagine having that happen and then having somebody kick it on top of that. Like it's one of the worst pains I've ever felt in my entire life. When my cup slipped in jiu-jitsu and crushed one of my testes, it's happened. I promise you guys. It's the worst. Now, imagine you're already having your ball sack in a vice grip and then someone decides to kick it closed a little bit harder. Like, I don't care that it just looked like a little tap. I don't care. He was like dry heaving. And then in the hospital 24 hours later, still, I will die on this hill.
Yep. Yeah, no, 100%. I've gotten the jiu-jitsu ones before, Clint, and I can tell you, but the worst ones I gotten though were from kicks, and not even MMA, even back in the Taekwondo or my sport karate days. Like you get those little flicking kicks that tip that get your cup just right. It doesn't even have to be the typical direct blow. Sometimes, depending if it was like a flat surface, like a knee coming up or something, it wouldn't be as bad if it hit kind of flush and flat. But those kicks, man, those kicks are brutal. And my thing was, you were much more kinder than me. I mean, I was just kind of, I said it was crappy for all around. And, I said I felt grateful and very lucky and fortunate, even for a push. And even if I did lose it, it wouldn't have mattered. I still would have won the night. So it wasn't like I was arguing from that sense of bias. Yes, I'm an Alex Perez defender, and people are going, wait, no, he did get knocked out. He got knocked out by Joseph Benavidez, who's old. Well, you can look, Clint knows this one, but you can go look at my timeline. For the Southpaw report, I posted. It was a clash of heads. He actually got fouled multiple times in that fight with Joe B, and then it was like back of the head shots, which somebody else pointed out on top of that, right? And in this
prime
fight,
Joe B was a beast.
He was a beast, and in this fight, he actually got fouled multiple times before that too. It was a couple. They only called and warned Sumaderji for one, but there was an eye poke, right? So there was already multiple infractions. So like Clint's point, if they continue, they're taking at least 1 point, right? And at
least.
Yep. And by the way, Perez was up on the card. Like he was up on that card. He was up on round 1 cards when he had that freak injury to Tatsuro Taira. He was up on 2 cards, to win the fight against Asu Amabayev for getting caught. You're telling me this guy's up on the cards and that's when he's deciding to quit? Like but that's what people were saying before this fight. So right when the low blow happened, I tweeted immediately, like, this is the worst. If he can't continue, all the quitter narrative is going to be unfairly justified. And Alex Perez, who, by the way, he's like one of the Clint, you weigh in, chat, weigh in. Who are the top 3 hated fighters in MMA gambling Twitter? I would venture Alex Perez, Brad Tavares, and I thought Alexander Pantoja finally started earning his respect out of it, but now I feel like he's going to be right back in there. Those are like my 3, but yeah, Alex Perez for sure. I think anybody can. You could hate Alex Perez and be like, oh yeah, that guy's definitely the most hated on guy.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So
and then so like. Not to call the chat out here, but like Mirko Picks talking about the whole puke gate situation.
Yeah.
He was asking for the bucket for like 7 seconds, and it's like, guys, again, can we just be reasonable about this? So first off, when you get kicked in the balls, you feel like you're gonna vomit, right? Your body might dry heat, but you feel like you're gonna vomit. You might not actually need to vomit. That's just the reaction that your body has physically. And let's even talk about like being sick. Okay, I've had food poisoning, Dan.
Yeah,
I made it to the toilet. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can feel it coming. So when you're like, hey, I need a bucket, it's coming. Like, it doesn't mean that you're faking it. Like, he heaved, stuff came out. Yeah, it was spit, it was vile, like it was bile. Like, that's fine, but like, I just don't understand why everyone is so like torn up on this. If it was something else, maybe, but it was his nuts. It was his ball sack, guys. Let's stick together on this one, boys. We need a coalition here. Come on.
Right. Yeah. Well, I just think in general, and to put a cap on this in general, here's the problem. And this was the problem that I called out before the Perez fight. Because it's not just the fans, it's even the broadcast, because Daniel Cormier and Joe Rogan, God bless them, are the worst at this, where our modus operandi, Clint, for whatever reason in MMA, is to blame the guy that just got fouled. It's his fault
every time,
and then it's his fault for the foul. And if the fight doesn't continue and you don't cash your bets and we don't get an entertaining fight and the crowd's booing, it is the fighter it's so weird. Like the fighters don't get blamed and get stuck with unfair bills enough in this sport, right, Clint? We got to go ahead and literally kick them while they're down when they've just been kicked in their junk. It just that's the part that blows me away here. The principle.
Blame Sue for kicking him in the dick. Like, that's who deserves the blame here, regardless. And Miro, I'm so sorry. I'm not saying that you were saying he was faking it, but a lot of people were pointing to the bucket and the spit and the lack of vomit as something that they wanted to hang their hats on. So I'm sorry, I used you as an example. I do apologize. But so moving on from that, Kai Asakura finally shows himself. Moving up to bantamweight, looked really, really good. Knocking out Cam Smotherman, who lost to the scales, though. Obviously a low bar. Happy to see him get a highlight. Happy he got on track. Happy to cash a ticket. So I was all good with that one. That was fun. I will say, Dan, I made one of the worst bets of my life. I was on a hot take streak, and I went for Talius and Teixeira. Pavlovich did in fact return to form. I thought it was going to be a lower paced fight, man. I thought they were going to kind of jab, and I thought they were going to take their time. Sergey just said, we're not doing this. And I didn't think it was going to go that quick. So I felt pretty dumb about that one, but it was fun to watch. And then Alonzo Minifield in the co-main event. Dan, I did not have the courage to put my money on Atomic Alonzo Minifield, but I put out multiple PSAs on the show, on Twitter, on I was all over the place with everybody just going, hey guys, be warned. This man comes through as an underdog, and Zhang Minyang is not a good fighter. So, while I did think that it was going to be Zhang Minyang round one, I was like, I can't bet either one of them. You know what I mean? I can't lay minus 200, and I can't bet plus 160. So it was a stay away from me, but I am not surprised that Alonzo did exactly what he did.
Yeah, man, that was crazy. I was scared off because I thankfully I didn't have exposure on Zhang minus 1 round robin leg just because I didn't have anything better to put in there. But Menifield was 0-2-1 in overseas fights. He's looked like trash and done trash. So how I hate to use the F word. You barely hear me use it, Clint. But how fraudulent is Zhang that Menifield came out and schooled him? I mean, you're right, and anybody was right that said he was a live dog. But yeah, man, that was that was something that we should have seen coming. And then I'll just say it was more Occam's razor for me with the Pavlovich Teixeira. I started off talking myself into Teixeira having a chance and being a live dog. Then I just went for, I'm like, let me just parlay the under and Sergey and keep it simple. And then Asakura was my biggest bet of the night. So I felt good to finally have a nice easy money bet. I don't really have too many of those, so I was flexing the easy money line because your boy. Even when I win, it doesn't feel easy. So that was nice. That was a nice change. That was nice.
I get it. Song Yadong comes out and looks every bit the minus 600 that he was in that fight. Although, similar to what happened earlier in the evening, he fucked everybody up winning by sub, Dan. We all were on the KO train. We all thought it was going to be a TKO or a late knockout. He has that patented guillotine out of California. Jumps Gilly, calls it a night. Beautiful performance from Song Yadong. In round 2, you really could see him starting to roll downhill. He picked up the timing. He picked up the range, and it was just going to be a one-sided beatdown from there. I mean, I know there were some people that were saying the fight looked like it was a little bit fixed, and realistically, I think Davison Figueiredo is just old, and he's taking fights wherever he can to make money at this point. He's not as invested as he used to be, so I don't think it was fixed. But I also think he knows he was losing that night. You know what I mean? So he didn't really struggle. He's just slower than he used to be. So it just kind of is what it is. And he's Bob Sapping it. He's living to fight another day. If he doesn't get it done with his first 2 big swings, he's willing to fold up shop and come back later.
Yeah, man. Figueiredo was a guy who either made you a lot of money on that flyweight run, even though he was pretty chalked up toward the end there, or, you lost money on him. And either way, I think you were able to kind of make it back. This is kind of how the fighter's career goes. I know I'm the guy who usually defends the old Brazilians at plus money. That's usually my role. But even I wasn't falling into that trap this week, right, Clint? And it was Song all day. And it just real quick, it was funny celebrating it. I was like, I had Song in a parlay, so I was like, yes. And I was like, ooh, wait, it's a sub. Did I put the knockout of my round robin? Did I get cheeky with my round props and add methods? Thankfully, I didn't. So I'm like, oh, sweet, I'm clear. Yes, I can celebrate. But it was one of those things where I'm like, no sub. No.
I love it. I went full chalk. He was my last leg of my 3-leg big parlay.
Nice.
It was a no sweater, man. The chalk rolled, and this was a bit of a long recap, you guys, but there was a lot to talk about at Macau. Sure. So thank you for bearing with us, but we're going to keep it rolling right here on the UFC Vegas 118. Without further ado, we've got over 170 people already watching live. Thank you all for being here. Please hit that like button. We are joined by my man, Dad Tom. Be sure to give him a follow. His stuff is all going to be in the comments and in the description below. Let's get after it, my guy. We're starting off with women's MMA. First fight of the night, Ketlen Souza takes on Ariane Carnelossi in what should be an absolute banger. Dan, both these women at one point in time fit the marker of my girl. I liked Ariane Carnelossi. I'm not going to lie. I did. She seems like she's fun, and she's just got that little muscle shark thing going on. Way too much muscle on her frame, especially for women's MMA. I'm honestly shocked. I don't know how she passes drug tests. She must just have the most insane genetics of all time ever, because she's never popped somehow. Like, I don't know how that's possible, but it theoretically is true here. She's been on a bit of a tough skid, right? She's 2-2-1 in her last 5 fights. She got choked out by Talita Alencar in her last fight. She went to war with Lupi and got ground out on that one. She beat Estela Nunez. She beat Na Liang. And then she had that weird DQ situation with Piera Rodriguez. And that was one of the weirdest situations we've ever really run into, man. Is Piera Rodriguez, I talk about it every time. She takes her down. She headbutts the shit out of her. And then the ref warns her not to do it again. She immediately does it. Guys, the best part about the show Leveling Up is I don't have to describe it for you. I got the clip, baby. Let's go.
Woo! She's got her hurt bad here.
Watch your head. Be careful of the head.
Yeah. Oh, man, she did it again.
That was, I was going to say, that seemed like a headbutt.
Just one of those things where you're like, what are you doing? Of course, Dan, I had a piece of Piera Rodriguez that night. So she's in the driver's seat and DQs herself. Not a no contest, not a draw, DQ. So technically that is a win on Ariane Carnelossi's record. She actually looked really good, you guys, against Talita Alencar. You go back and you watch that fight. She honestly looked pretty fantastic to start that fight. She was controlling Alencar. She was pushing her up against the fence. She was just bullying her around the cage. She's got real strong underhooks, real strong body lock. She's so physical. What happened was in the second round, Talita hit her with a knee and a right hand that she just never saw coming. It rocked her. She hit the mat. And then Talita was the one in the driver's seat for the grappling. And it was interesting because as soon as that happened, she gassed badly, Dan. I don't know what it is, but Carnelossi seems to be a good hammer and a bad nail situation. If she is in the driver's seat wrestling, she can go for 15 minutes. If you are forcing her to defend, she gets tired in a hurry. Now, Ketlen Souza, 16-6. She is 30 years old, and I like this girl, man. Now, she's 1-2 in her last 3 fights. However, she got arguably robbed in back-to-back split decisions. Very close fights with Piera Rodriguez and Angie Hill. She could be like 5-1 in the UFC. This girl has serious power in her hands. She showed that she's improving in her grappling. You know, her last fight against Bruno Brazil, I was a bit nervous because I did bet on her in that fight. I'm a fade Bruno Brazil type of guy. So I was all in on Ketlen. And I was sweating bullets a little bit because she was not striking the way I'm used to her striking. She was doing a lot of cage grinding and just pinning her up against the fence. She had like 8 minutes of control time in that fight, but it was all standing. That's the type of fight the judges don't like, Dan. That's the type of fight the judges might rob you on because they feel like you're not quite doing enough. What I'm used to is this girl going out there and being a vicious, brutal striker trying to hurt her opponent. And when she lands, boy, does she land.
Oh my goodness.
What a transition to the choke for Souza.
He's got it. It's under the neck.
That is under the neck, bad. She's going to go out. She's going out. She's going to sleep.
She's going to sleep. She's sleeping. She's out. She's out.
So she's got power in her hands, unnecessary levels of power for women's MMA. That back take was incredibly quick, and that squeeze, my man. I love everything about Ketlen, and on top of that, she fits the #1 betting strategy in all of MMA. Dan. She is the Brazilian lesbian with a neck tattoo. And that is just always going to get my money. She is your favorite here, -305 over Ariane Carnelossi, who is a +245 underdog. And frankly, Dan, I struggle to see a path to victory for Ariane Carnelossi. And I know that's dangerous because when you start saying like, oh, it's a lock. Oh, of course. Like there's no way they can win. Like that's when you get caught with your pants down. But seriously, is Carnelossi going to out-hustle Souza on the feet? No, she's not. Does Carnelossi hit harder than Souza? Is she as clean of a striker as Souza? No, she isn't. Now, this is women's MMA, so you can just win by being more physical in women's MMA. Carnelossi's more physical than most women. Is she more physical than Souza? No, Dan, she's not. Can she out-grapple her for 15? No, she can't out-grapple her for 15 minutes. Like, this sets up to be like a round 2, round 3 KO from Souza, in my opinion, man. I think if Souza wants to clinch this fight, she'll be able to deal with the muscle monster that is Carnelossi. If she wants to strike in this fight, she is far faster. She is far more athletic. She is far cleaner. I think she knocks her out at some point. So, like, I really like this minus 300. And I know that sounds dangerous in women's MMA, but I think it's minus 300 for a reason. And I think she's going to knock her out.
Clint is calling for the reverse outcome, baby, because if I were to play devil's advocate, spoiler alert, by the way, I actually I agree with Souza being the favorite here. That was great that was a great breakdown on their games, Clint. But I will say this. So I didn't realize this until looking deeper in the in their resumes, Clint. If you search the matchmakers Pornhub or their porn searches, it's gonna there's gonna be a couple things that I guarantee it's gonna
get
be
access
on there, right?
to that.
Listen. I know Mick and Sean very well. It's gonna be one of the categories in their search bar when you click it to see their search history. It's gonna say middleweight main events in the Apex. Okay, that's gonna be one of them. They love that. They can't get enough of it, right? The other is needless WMMA rematches that nobody asked for, nobody needed to see, that they're digging up all the way from the how many of these have they done, Clint? How many? We've lost track. I went through and I didn't even realize half of them sometimes, even when I'm breaking them down, right? In your defense, and again, I agree with your analysis here, but they did fight earlier in their career, and it was actually Carnelossi with a round 3 body kick. Now, I didn't watch that fight, full admission here, folks, but obviously it was earlier in their fight. When you have physicality, kind of like what I was talking about earlier, with the way women can, for better or worse, kind of stay the same for maybe longer, maybe because there's less competition in the women's divisions, a lot of things like that. But if you're an athlete, you really stand out in the women's divisions. And Carnelossi does have that. Now, she's not a great nail. That athlete can go into juggernaut mode, like Clint said, when she's hammering, right? But I agree with Clint. She's not a great nail, and which sucks because for me, it was like, I'll pick the favorite. Maybe this is a dog or pass. You look at the points handicap prop of Carnelossi, maybe, but I don't think she can survive. She could be just a club and sub away, kind of like Clint pointed out. And B, you're not even getting great numbers for that, like points handicap. I just looked, it's like plus 115. I would want something much juicier, especially looking at what her money line is, right? So yeah, man, it's the favorite for me here, but I don't know if I'm going to be getting involved with it. But I don't disagree with your confidence either, Clint.
Okay. Yeah, man. That's funny, actually. I did not realize that this was a rematch. So that definitely is an interesting note there. But sorry, go ahead.
Oh, just one last thing, stats, by the way. And I do look at rematches when it is a rematch, even though there's not notable names on their resume. And for what it's worth, Souza is the only fighter that's actually had to fight a rematch in her career, and she is 1-0, so she did win that. Another point in your process. She's also 2-3 in the Apex, but again, 3 of those losses are split decision losses. Where I agree, I feel like both could have gone her way. I felt more strongly about one than the other, but the point is, that could easily be 3-2 or 4-1, opposed to Carnelossi, who is 2-1, and again, one of those victories, as Clint pointed out, was a DQ win. So again, the stats are a little misleading there, but I wanted to share with your audience.
Thank you. No, definitely appreciate the extra context, always. Yeah, man. I mean, I feel like she's on a revenge tour. You know what I mean? Is that fair? I feel like this is a fight where she probably should have won that first one, and she was on the wrong end of it. Shit happens. They've both evolved. Well, one is it's 2 ships passing in the night. One has evolved. The other one is getting taken out at the UFC level. This is a chance to get that loss back. The right woman rights the ship and that kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely feeling the angle, Dan, the best angle in all of betting MMA, the Brazilian lesbian with the neck tattoo.
Let's go.
Damn near undefeated, my man. All right, you guys, let's keep it rolling. Next up, we are not changing gears. This is more women's MMA. UFC newcomer Jeisla Cháirez takes on Yuneisy Duben. You guys may not recall Duben. She is somebody who I frankly kind of memory hold and didn't really have much to think about when I saw her. It's an interesting situation because she was on Dana White's Contender Series and she lit the place on fire, Dan.
Just put combos right in her face.
Body with that kick. Body with that kick.
Wow!
Yuneisy Duben with an overhand swing.
I mean, the look on Dana's face, He was like, no, like he was yelling at her through the cage. He's like, no, you're signed. We're not waiting. You're signed. Like it was the craziest thing, man. And everyone was all hyped on her and excited about her. The fact is, I kind of feel like she's a meme, if we're being honest. She gets that big KO win.
Yeah.
She gets signed by the UFC. And then immediately they knew exactly what was going on, man. They threw her to the wolves. She had to take on my girl, Carly Judice. She gets head kicked in the first round, and it's donezo. You know, it was interesting because it felt like she was kind of rolling off the couch a little bit. Now, again, I'm not body shaming anybody, but for like professional fighters, she was a little pudgy. Like she was a little soft, you know, she had a little extra around the middle. I will tell you guys, check out her Instagram. Girl is in shape right now.
Yeah.
Like Dan, when I say she's a little thick, I mean that in the best way possible. Like she's not got a little extra in a bad way this time around.
Nice.
So she seems to be trying to get her career on track and take it very, very seriously. The problem is she is super low volume, man. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know that Yoel's strategy will work at women's 125 pounds. Like, if you're counting on an overhand right or a flying knee with no other setup to be what wins you the fight, I don't know if that's going to work at women's MMA at the UFC level, man. But that's kind of what she does. She's patient, which is great. She tries to line up that big shot, but like, how far is that power really going to carry you? Is she Amanda Lemos? Can she just take heads off for her entire run? I'm not so sure. Now, her opponent is new to the UFC. She's actually debuting off of Dana White's Contender Series. She is Jeisla Cháirez. She's 6-0, undefeated. She won her Dana White's Contender Series fight via split decision over Sofia Montenegro, and she was a decent-sized underdog in that fight, Dan. It was really, really intriguing because I believe, and now correct me if I'm wrong, chat, you guys may remember, I think she was a ring girl. She was like, she was a ring girl and then started training to like stay in shape and be around the sport and all that kind of stuff. And then she decided that she herself was going to fight. And turns out she's pretty damn good at it. She has got one hell of a jab on her, Dan. I mean, really intelligent, stiff jab that she really steps into. And not like Duben, not right, like not to the same level, but she has power, man. She's got decent pop in her punches. She's got 3 wins by knockout, 3 wins by decision. She ground and pounds the hell out of people. She's aggressive with her takedowns. The way she mixed in her wrestling against Sofia Montenegro, I felt was really impressive. And she's got like the fight before Dana White's Contender Series. She mauled this girl, dragged her into deep waters, and then knocked her out in the third when she couldn't get her off her. Like, this is the kind of woman that I am frankly extremely interested in from a betting perspective. And guys, we're talking about her opponent being a little bit in shape. Like, you have got to see this woman. Like, she is every inch the professional MMA fighter. She is in insane shape, Dan, coming into this one. So I definitely think the UFC is selling on the hype. They'll run that clip of Yuneisy Duben landing that knockout blow to try to justify this fight being close or interesting. And she's going to end up going like 1-3, and then she'll get cut. And I think Jeisla Cháirez has her beat everywhere. As long as she doesn't walk face first into a bomb, she should win this fight. And I think the grappling was probably going to be a very important key. You guys are going to hear this a lot over the course of the night. We ran with the chalk last week, Dan. That trend will continue. Cháirez is a -400 favorite. Duben is like +310 the comeback on her. So shocker, I'm riding with the big favorite on this one. And unfortunately, I might be doing that a decent bit more than I would like to for the rest of the evening. But we'll try to find some live dogs for you guys. I just don't think it's this one.
Yeah, man. I'll just say Chavez 0-0 in this Apex, 1-0, of course, when you counter Contender Series fight. Duben 0-1 in the Apex, 1-1 when you counter Contender Series fight. And yeah, I was really impressed with Chavez, really her composure in that fight. And folks, if you remember, I believe that was right after the Schnell Dyer fight the week before. Remember, there was like 2 women's fight of the years, like back-to-back weeks of Dana White Contender Series last year. This was one of them. And then the one before, I believe, was the Schnell Dyer fight. So that was a really cool run. So I was really impressed with Chavez. I almost gave her the ever elusive A+. I do winner grades over at MMA Junkie for the Contender Series. So yeah, I like Chavez here, and I actually thought she should have been maybe a bigger favorite against who I call Duben. By the way, shout out to Paul Shag from Bookie Beatdown, smoking the Duben. He's like the Jose Medina of the women's division. You know what I'm saying? She kind of got brought in off of a gimmick, like you said, off the Contender Series. And just, kind of gets put in there to take a licking. And I'm hoping she can survive longer than round one, because here's what I think. I think that even though it's a big chalky line, Clint, I actually think it should have been wider. And I went to check the opener. I don't know how accurate this is, what you saw, Clint, or the chat, but she opened at minus 900, which isn't crazy for women's MMA. We see those Ronda Rousey lines all the time. But if that is true, then, you could argue that there's value if you want to, throw that in a parlay piece or something, if you're getting crazy. I don't think I'll go there, but here's what I'm going to be looking at, Clint. Rounds 2 and 3 sprinkles. I'm going to be curious on what numbers they put on those. That way, maybe I can sprinkle, somewhere only in the neighborhood of a half unit. I don't even got to get a unit or more in there. Just a neighborhood of a half unit between 2 rounds and see what I can collect there.
Dan, I'm not going to lie, man. I feel like you might be getting greedy. I'm just going inside the distance. Give me close to even money. Like, I'm worried that she might get the damn thing done early. I love the way that you do. I think Cháirez inside the distance, and I wouldn't want to miss out on this one by looking for rounds 2 and 3. Obviously, if you're getting sexy numbers, it's women's MMA, you go for it. But I probably will have a piece of some sort of inside the distance and just not even think twice about it.
Inside the distance I got for you right now, it's it's fighter wins inside the distance. You're getting plus 240 on Ketlen Souza. Yeah, you're right. Maybe just go there. I thought it was going to be chalky. Okay.
Well, if that's Ketlen Souza, that's not.
Oh, Ketlen Souza. Sorry. Wrong line. Yeah, wrong fight. I clicked on the wrong fight. Sorry.
Although that is interesting.
That is, yeah. Now that that still surprised me nonetheless. Maybe that's why I was surprised there. Sorry. No,
I did say I think she finishes. So if we're getting 2-1 on that, I still might be interested.
It is plus 100. It's right at even money, man. I mean,
that's all I'm looking for, Dan.
Yeah, I don't blame you for firing. Shop accordingly, folks, if that's what you're interested in.
Women's MMA looking at like a plus 350 or something on a round 2. Nah, just give me the solid one punch. I'll take the even money on the inside the distance. Call it a day. Shout out my man Razor Sharp Picks. What is up, my friend? Appreciate you being here in the show. Hey, you guys know I always rave about this dude. Razor is no joke, just the absolute best I've ever seen, you guys. The only reason I've got any money left in my account is because of that guy. He does everything, every sport. You got football, baseball, basketball, all of it. I don't watch baseball. I don't watch basketball. I tail Razor, and I just end up with plus money in my account. I'm not kidding, you guys. This sounds like an ad. He doesn't pay me. He's just my boy, and he legitimately is good at it, and he tracks better than anybody I know. He puts out his runs for everybody to see. He always does, like, my last 3 months, my last 2 weeks, my last 5 bets. Like, you guys can see everything. It's all out there in the open. So, like, if you want to call me a liar, just like go check out his shit and you can see for yourself. He's incredible. Frankly, I don't know how he does it, but it's awesome. So check out Razor Sharp. If there's one guy I would ever point you to saying, hey, this guy is worth actually like subscribing to get picks for, it's him. It's him and my boy Keg. It's been a while since I've talked to Keg, but those are the only 2 guys that I would suggest anybody go get any kind of picks of or anything like that. So appreciate you being here, buddy. Let's keep it moving, everybody. We've got Jordan Leavitt, and he's taking on Joanderson. Brito. This is the weirdest fight I've ever seen, Dan. I was not expecting this one to ever come around. I got a lot to say about both these fighters because I love this fight so much. So the Monkey King, Jordan Leavitt, is a guy who is just criminally underrated. He's 13-3. He's 31 years old, and he's training with good teammates. He's coming off of taking out Yadir Divale, a guy who I told you guys, he was the next big thing, Dan. He came into the UFC undefeated, and he smokes out Isaac Dulgarian in the first round. Obviously, we all know the FBI got involved on that one. That's where I was like, so I think Leavitt is like more live than we would guess in this fight, right? It's Leavitt's first fight down a weight class, so I didn't want to like really get in there. I wasn't extremely confident because I do think Yadir is a decent fighter, and I didn't know how Jordan Leavitt would look down a weight class. So there was a little bit of question, but I was like, guys, don't be parlaying Yadir Divale this week at like minus 500. And Leavitt came in and did the damn thing as like a plus 350 underdog, dude. It was a beautiful performance. Before that, he subbed out Kurt Hollabaugh. I want to run you guys back and show you the people that beat Jordan Leavitt are big 155ers who are very talented grapplers. That's it. Chase Hooper, Patty Pimblett, and Claudio Puelles. Now, Claudio was only like his second fight in the UFC. That one is not aging well, but he's a very good grappler and he's a big body. Patty Pimblett is now like a top 5 guy, right? He's fighting Gaethje, right? Chase Hooper, while if you bonk this guy on the nose these days, he's going down. If you grapple with him, he will tie you in a pretzel. Guys, again, go back, watch that fight. When Chase Hooper scrambles with Leavitt, he has one of the most ridiculous reversals I've ever seen in my entire life. Nobody is pulling that move off. And then if you're not as good of a grappler as Leavitt, or if you're not a bigger body, which is why he cut the weight and is now kind of size bullying people, he's really underrated, physical, and strong.
Over to his corner. Oh, wow.
He's out. That's it. Done. Slam.
Bro, that hollow thunk sound of his head hitting the freaking canvas. Like, that guy might still be unconscious. And he's got little tricks like that he uses where he's bracing his forearm on his chin to make sure it does damage. He's submitting people. He knocked out Victor Martinez. Like, people are just not willing to give Jordan Leavitt his credit. Like, what's my boy got to do to get a little bit of respect around here? Now, his opponent, Joanderson Brito, is 18-5-4, 31 years old, and he's just a madman. He is one of these little Brazilian brick shit houses. He is 4-2 in his last 6 fights. He's coming off of a course correcting win over Isaac Thompson. He lost by split to William Gomi. He lost to Pat Sabatini. He just got kind of ground out, as people tend to do against Pat Sabatini these days. So that wrestling path to victory we saw just very recently is very real, and it's right there. However, this guy reminds me so much of Davison Figueiredo. Like, he bites down and he explodes and he wings these big power punches. And Danny's got that ghillie. He's got that guillotine. He had Pat Sabatini in extreme trouble with a really deep guillotine. Not a lot of people are going to stay calm and work their way out of that. Pat's such a damn good grappler that he was able to work his way through it. But that would have got a lot of people. You go back to the Jack Shore fight, and he has some of the nastiest leg kicks you've ever seen. That fight got stopped because he busted like an inch wide cut in Jack Shore's leg. And it was like pooling blood because they couldn't stop the bleeding from how bad this cut was. It was pretty horrific, you guys. They like zoom in on it, and the doctor is trying to like assess the wound, and he's like sticking his finger in it and shit. It was like, oh my God, like that. I can't imagine how bad that had to hurt in the moment, because the doctor literally is like poking his finger into this gash of a wound. It was awful. And then we got to count for the knockout power.
World class in every part of the game. The wrestling.
Oh, that's right. Connected. Brito. And then the right hand. Feeling appeared to
This guy's got it all. He really does. So some of his UFC wins are not aging very well. Jack Shore, JSP, Weston Wilson. But this guy beat Diego Lopez on Dana White's Contender Series. And he might have gotten ground out by Pat Sabatini. But a lot of people really felt like he should have gotten the nod against William Gomi. A lot of people cried robbery the night that William Gomi won. And I kind of understand that. I feel like he should have won that fight. So realistically, he's beat everybody that they put in front of him. He was on a 5-fight win streak, all by finish. And now he's kind of got his confidence back. He's got his momentum back. And he's trying to get rolling here, Dan. This is a really, really tough fight for me to call, because I've been trying to ride this Jordan Leavitt underrated, give me the plus money type of setup here. But I feel like this is Joanderson Brito's fight to lose, because we have seen Leavitt hurt. He is a bit slow. And even on the mat, we've seen him caught and submitted. So why can't Brito win some of these grappling exchanges or catch a neck? And then when they're on the feet, I know Leavitt's big and I know he's strong, but I feel like the speed is going to be an issue for him here. I feel like Brito can crash the pocket and get in there and hurt him when he just doesn't quite have the time to react. So plus 160 on Leavitt, about minus 190 on Joanderson Brito. Oh, this one's tough because it's like a head and heart situation, Dan. Like, I feel like I need to bet Joanderson Brito. He's not a guy I like to trust. He's a little too wild. He's a little too crazy. You can't really trust the fight IQ fight to fight, but skill for skill, I think he's the better fighter. I just don't want to go against Leavitt when, we've been doing good betting on the guy, and he really hasn't given us a reason to go against him. But gut says Brito.
I don't know if this is one of those fights, but there's a rare saying that we don't say as much as dog or pass, which is favorite or pass, right? And sometimes the line can move so much lower that you start considering the favorite at a certain point, right? You're like the buyback is a little too much. And this fight, this is what I was alluding to earlier, Clint, with not realizing what fights are in what weight classes. And I totally missed that. Leavitt was coming down to 145 to face the Cuban problem, Yair Del Valle, right? And here's the potential trap coming off that, is that the trap in that fight was Del Valle was coming off a dominant win, but it was off a dominant win of a guy who threw the fight. So how do we grade that, right? Are we overvaluing? Are we undervaluing? And obviously we were, not we, or perhaps you, the viewer, but the betting line had Del Valle as a big favorite, so he was overvalued. So that meant we had everybody, the general, we had a bad read. So if we had a bad read going into that fight and then Leavitt just dominates, how much do we really take over that? Brito has been wrestled, but he is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt. He's got dangerous submissions and his own versions of grappling upside in transition. Like Clint said, the guy can scramble too. The problem is he has to scramble because he's either getting taken down or taking himself down with these guillotines. Now, Brito, he is 1-1 against UFC level lefties. Jordan Leavitt is a southpaw. That win, I don't know how much we can take from, right? Because it comes against Weston Wilson. It's a really quick knockout. However, I don't know how much of the loss we can knock against Brito either, because that comes against none of my homies like William Gomes, baby. Right up there with Renat Fakhretdinov for a time, Clint. He was holding the trophy for 2024 and 2025 for the most fraudulent winning streak. Now, that wasn't as big of a robbery as some of his or some of Fakhretdinov's victories over Brito. It wasn't like, oh my goodness, it wasn't like Volkov gone too, right? But it was a pretty bad decision. However, what takes some of the sting off, as far as how much even myself can complain about it, is that Brito made really bad decisions to put himself in that position to get robbed by the judges, right? And if you look at it, he makes some really suspect decisions in there. He was kind of lucky to get that win over Diego Lopez. He fouled him with every foul in the book, again, making just horrid decisions. And sometimes he's rewarded for it. Sometimes he's penalized. And now he's coming off of a short notice guy who could have maybe been a prospect from the Uriah Faber League. We don't know, because like everybody in MMA or UFC, they get pushed to market too fast. So how much do we take from that? I say all that to say that this fight feels trappy as crap. And even the Apex stats are drawing dead even here. Both guys, Clint, are 5-2 in that Apex, 6-2 when you count their Contender Series fights. So, I mean, it is really tough for me to find edges here. And even though I came in leaning toward Brito, and my opinion that I would look for the Brito side if this gets any lower, that actually still holds for this breakdown here, folks. That being said, my official pick, I'm actually going to lean toward Leavitt here. I haven't put any money on him because I feel like I missed the best of the line. I'm not trying to rush to bet this fight, but I will take Leavitt because one of the things that I do edge out, if it's not represented in the stats, is that I like to take the superior, not hard and fast, right? But I like to give the edge, I should say, to the superior wrestler and submission fighter when we are in the small octagon. And Jordan Leavitt came up under my catch wrestling coach, Neil Melanson, and I know this guy's well-trained. Give me Jordan Leavitt.
Okay. I like it. I absolutely like it. And yeah, JB says then he twerked on you after. That's the way to do it, man. No, I kind of love it, Dan. I really do. Like this fight card is hurting for dogs. And it may feel like you're kind of chasing the glory of the last fight. But like I said, Leavitt has done nothing for me to doubt him. He's done everything we've asked of him. Now, I want to see the weigh-ins, Dan. Because is Joanderson Brito strong enough to kind of bully him in the grappling? Maybe. That's what I'm worried about. Like I said, the guys that beat him are very, very good, very physical, very strong grapplers. Brito's a brown belt. Can he catch a sub on him? Yes, he can. Therein lies the danger. But will he be able to maul Jordan Leavitt? Maybe not. And I saw my boy Tim in the chat saying over under how many gillies Brito's going to pull in this fight. If he doesn't catch the guillotine, and he does jump Gilly very often, that gives Leavitt an easy path to top position. And this guy doesn't fuck off once he gets on top of you. So, yeah, I think Leavitt is extremely live. Like I said, my gut says Brito is going to be the one who actually gets it. But I am not parlaying him at minus 200. And I think a strong gust of wind could talk me into taking some underdog money here on Jordan Leavitt and just riding the wave.
Interesting. I will say one thing. It probably won't be a great number, but this is one of the fights for Jordan Leavitt where I'll be looking to see what the total takedowns are, because I think that's a bet that can cash even if Leavitt loses.
Oh, I like that. That makes some sense to me, my friend. That makes some sense to me. All right, guys, let's keep it moving. Next up, we are right back to the ladies. Chelsea Chandler takes on Priscila Cachoeira, zombie girl herself. Dan, I didn't know Chelsea was still on the roster.
Jesus. Yeah.
I legitimately didn't know that.
Chelsea Chandler. Yeah, something about her gives me some vibes, man. I don't know if it brings me back to like some bad decisions I may have made, when I was a younger man or so, but I don't know. I get some weird vibes from Chelsea Chandler. We'll leave it at that.
Is there a story here, Dan? I feel like
there's plenty of stories, man. There's plenty of stories. Listen.
What Chelsea hurt you?
No. Listen, we've all made the mistake, and at a party, so in our younger days, and find yourself with the Chelsea Chandler. As far as this fight goes, Clint, let's look at this fight. Let's look at the fight, shall we? Let's look at the fight.
Yes, sir. Oh my goodness. Some of us were young and at parties. Others of us were, principals' kids that didn't get invited. So I wouldn't know what that was like. Chelsea Chandler, you guys, I'm shocked, is 35 years old. I'll be honest with you, Dan.
Wow.
We started this show off talking about, talking about my girl Angie Overkill and how Holly Holm is aging like fine wine. And that scene from She-Hulk where she picks the guy up and walks him to the bedroom. Any day, Holly, come pick me up, lady. That's not Chelsea Chandler. I didn't have any idea that she was 35 years old. Okay. She does not fall into that category. She is not aging like fine wine. She's 6-4 as a professional, you guys. Just woof. She's got absolutely awful weight cutting practices. She's missed weight twice in her last 3 fights. She is 1-3 in her last 4. Now, granted, she has been fighting some tough cookies. Jocelyn Edwards knocked her out badly, mind you, in her last fight. Yana Santos grinded her out. Norma Dumont grinded her out. So, those are kind of the best women in this weight class. She's big. She's strong. She's physical. She is a decent grappler. She kind of feels like a Diaz bro, and she gets on top of you. She's got good ground and pound, and that's what she did to Julie Stolyarenko. Stoli couldn't get her down, and we know Stoli's kind of a round one or bust submission type of girl, so she was a dead woman walking. But so her only win that I can even talk about is Josiane Nunez, who again is like one of the smallest fighters in this weight class, has an overhand right and then nothing else behind it. So congratulations for winning that one, I guess. I still don't really know what Chelsea's even good at, man. That's kind of the problem with all this. Now, Zombie Girl, 13-8. She is 37 years old. She's getting a little bit older, but she's working with the GOAT. She's legitimately training side by side with Amanda Nunez while she's going through this fight camp thing, getting ready for the greatest women's MMA fight of all time. It was supposed to happen next week on the White House card. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wait, but she's had a bit of a rough time herself. Her only recent win also is Josiane Nunez. She's 1-4 in her last 5 fights. She's losing to, similarly, Jocelyn Edwards, Claudia Segula, Jasmine Jasudavicius, Miranda Maverick. I mean, these are also women who are insanely good grapplers, who have very high ceilings. These are just a couple of women who like to brawl. These are a couple of women who like to bang. I will say, if you want to do some MMA math, there's a difference between the way Chelsea Chandler and Priscila Cachoeira beat Josiane Nunez.
She's going to feel there's the uppercut. You were talking about it. Wow. Zombie Girl.
It's like a family. Oh my gosh.
This quick little uppercut, man. There's not many women that have punching power that way. There really aren't. So is Chelsea going to come out here with a grappling game plan? Frankly, she should. She really should. That's the way you beat Priscila Cachoeira. If she wants to save her job, then go ahead and do that. But frankly, with what the UFC is doing these days, if she does do that, she probably gets cut off of a win because they're just not gonna keep her around if she's gonna be grinding out the party animal Priscila Cachoeira. You better go out there and sling leather if you want to keep your job, lady. And I almost feel like this line is backwards for some reason, Dan. Chelsea Chandler's a minus 130 favorite. Priscilla's a plus 110 underdog. Why? So they both got knocked out by Jocelyn Edwards. Jocelyn looks like she's headed for the title, okay? There's no shame in that. But you look at their overall body of work, and Priscilla's got some decent wins, at least on her resume, right? Like back to Ariane Lipski, Ji-Yoon Kim. Like, I know those aren't like phenomenal names or anything like that, but we're comparing it to the one name of Josiane Nunez for Chelsea Chandler. Yes, Chelsea has the path to victory of the grappling because Priscila just can't stop a takedown. So theoretically, she could just grind and wrestle for 15 minutes. But I've also never really seen Chelsea Chandler stick to a game plan like that ever before in my life. So if we're going to bang it out, we got a slugfest between two women that kind of hit pretty hard. And you don't knock out Zombie Girl. I mean, Jocelyn did, but she's the only one. Like, unless you're TKOing her and the referee mercy stops it, nobody's knocking out Zombie Girl. So this is going to be a fun slugfest, unless Chelsea decides to make it really boring. And I kind of lean with my girl, Cachoeira. It seems very low level, very dangerous. I wish there was some more meat on the bone, Dan, because I'd probably bet it if I got a better number. But another one, kind of like Alonso last week, like, how the hell are you supposed to bet this? Do you want to lay minus 130 on Chelsea? A woman who's under 500 in the UFC with no notable victories? Is that really the move here? I hate it.
Yeah, man, there are almost zero edges in the numbers as well. Some numbers for you guys. 2-2 is the number because 2-2 is the record of Cachoeira in the small cage. 2-2 is the record of Chandler in the small cage. They're also even as far as this fight open as an even money line. And that 2-2 number shows up in the southpaw stats, Clint, because Chelsea Chandler is a southpaw. So how does Priscila Cachoeira fare against southpaws? 2-2 again. And that 2-2 for Cachoeira, both in their Apex and Southpaw records skewed because one of those is Ji-Yoon Kim, which was a controversial win, right? So, how much is there? I do like to give a slight edge to the grappler. So you'd be like the more physical girl. That would be Chelsea Chandler. But as of right now, they're actually now both the same rank in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because Priscila Cachoeira, I was going to see if she was still over at Florida Goat Shed. She's also did some training here in Vegas. And you look like she was back in Brazil for this camp. The good news about being back in Brazil, Clinton, she looked like she's been working a lot of her jiu-jitsu. She got promoted by her coaches to brown belt. We'll see. Does that mean anything? Who knows? We've seen black belts get
means a little
by
something.
No ranks, but she's putting in the work, and that work, coincides with this camp for this opponent. So, you know what? I don't have a lot of dogs like you're hinting to on this card. So perhaps that might influence me, and I'm not really looking to bet this fight. So I don't feel very high stakes here, Clint. But go ahead and put me down for Zombie Girl, Cachoeira.
Yeah, I think I'll join you on that, Dan. And when I say join you, I mean as far as picking her. I don't know that I'm going to bet her. You guys know I have an unhealthy attachment to Zombie Girl. Absolutely love her to death. We've literally traded DMs a couple times because I was like her biggest fan when people were shitting on her and thought she should get cut. I've showed her some love and some support, and she actually thanked me and went back and forth with me a couple times. I do love that at this point in her career at 37 years old. I always talk about fighters aren't going to change, right? Fighters aren't going to improve. Well, she's so one-dimensional and always has been that she has an opportunity to improve, and she is, and she's working hard, and she's training with the GOAT of women's MMA. So now that she's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu and she's really worked on that grappling, does she use it in the cage? I would love to see it. I really would love to see it.
Sure.
And it does show a level of I'm still in this, right? It shows a level of desire to get in there and to improve. I think Chelsea Chandler's one fight away from getting cut. She is, I believe, you said she's a brown belt also. But man, she just doesn't use it. The one fight she used her grappling at all, she stepped right into mount and went straight for the ground and pound. So I don't know that we can trust her to use a good game plan here.
Yeah, her training pictures aren't too promising either as far as high level bodies or consummate body types to her to work with. So I don't know.
For sure. Gabriella says the GOAT of women's MMA is Elise Ardeline. Oh, Gabby. No, Gabriella. No. I will say she's funny. I'm not sure what happened, Dan, but somehow my algorithm on Instagram has decided that I'm an Ardeleon fan because now all I see is her stuff popping up. And I will tell you, she's pretty funny. Like, she's actually an entertaining follow. So it's mostly like memes and giggles and gimmicks and stuff like that. And I'm not complaining because she is entertaining.
I feel like that's funny. I feel like we swapped. Like, I feel like I should be getting the Ardeline, butt shots on my feed. And you should be getting what I'm getting, Clint, which is this nonstop, one of my favorite. It's AI slop, but it's my guilty pleasure. It's this like Mexican guy. He's like, they put him as like Goku and like Vegeta. It's hilarious. They do Dragon Ball reenactments. It's hilarious. I don't know what it's called. I can't understand the Spanish, but it's hilarious. It's like the Mexican Bumblebee guy in The Simpsons. It's the same joy I got from that as a child.
I'm gonna have to find that because I'm
gonna send you these clips. I'm gonna send you some of these clips. You'll
love
appreciate
it. Yeah, no, that's good. I'm in. I'm all in. All right, guys. Next up, we got Bruno Silva, and he takes on Edgar Chairez in what is just a melt your face level of violence. Like, we need a hard rock band playing in the background while this fight is going on, because this, like, I know they're short, but when they zoom in with the cameras, you can never tell, guys. You have no idea that both these dudes are 4'10", going at it in the cage. This is going to be an absolute banger. Edgar Chairez, 13-6, 30 years old, training out of Intram Gym. He's on a 2-fight win streak. He choked out my boy CJ Vergara. He was able to run him down. And he got Felipe Bunez out of there. Man, when this guy squeezes, Dan, it is something else. I got to show you guys this.
He's gonna choke him. He's gonna hurt him. Oh, the fight's over. Yeah, back to the bread and butter. The choke is in. The guard's relaxing. There's the tap.
You could see the second he went for it, Dan. He like established the position, and CJ was like, okay, I'm good. And then he squeezed, and it was like, oh shit, like he tapped immediately. Chairez has got a nasty squeeze on him. And I always think back to when he finished Daniel Lacerda twice. The first time they fought, it ended up being called a no contest. It was this weird, goofy situation. And he was like, no, respect. Let's run it back. He finished him faster. The second time they fought. God. It was like, no, get your bitch ass out of here. I like Edgar Chairez. He's violent. He hits hard. He's a good boxer. He's a hard-nosed, classic Mexican fighter who's going to go in there and stand toe-to-toe with anybody. His losses in the UFC, Taturo Taira, Clayton Carpenter, and Josh Van. So a couple of grapplers that you can't finish, and the champion. So I'm not saying he's championship caliber. I'm not saying he's going to make a run for the title or anything, but he's a guy you're not walking through. He's a guy you're not going to just handle, right? He's incredibly hard to finish. He's got good cardio. He's a fun dude. Bruno Silva, 15-8-2, weird record, 36 years old, formerly of Fight Ready. This guy is Timu Henry Cejudo. We always talk about that. He literally is the exact same style as Henry Cejudo. He's just not quite that good. Like, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's got a great squeeze on him, great scrambles, good wrestling. He kind of osmosis absorbed that from Henry training with him. And he's got that, the karate style, right? The same thing Henry did, where it's the, it's the lead hand out and it's the big explosions in. And again, like women's MMA, for small weight classes, I don't usually recommend that you rely on power, but this guy makes it work.
Fading Durden in round 2. It's an auto bet. Clint, are you frozen there, or am I disconnected? Check. I don't know if we lost Clint or if I'm still with you guys. Pendragon is the last comment. Are we there? Are we back?
Dan, my friend.
Yes, sir.
If you haven't watched the last couple of episodes, I'm having technical difficulties, and I thought that I fixed it. Okay. But my damn computer is on its last legs, and it's dying. And it keeps doing this to me, where it just randomly locks up in the middle of the podcast. Yeah. See, Micro knows in the chat. I fried my laptop. I am restarting the laptop. Okay. Thank God I've got a backup here that I can connect, so the show is just not dead in the water. But if you'd like to talk about this fight
Sure.
for a second, so I can
You
get
got
back
it.
up and running,
I'll
I
run-
would be
I'll
very
run
happy
some
to
cover.
rejoin you in a moment.
Yeah, I'll run some cover, man. Yeah. So this is a tough one for me to pick. Some stats for the audience. We got 3-1 inside the smaller cage for Bruno Silva. 4-1 when you count that Virgin show, which you're like, what Virgin show? It was Marab versus Peter Yan, their first fight, folks. Any fight on that card, that was also a small cage card. Usually it's Dana White Contender Series, Apex, or a Tough Finale is where you're going to see the small cages. But that was a sneaky one. He got a win over my guy Tyson Nam there. I was drunk off my ass on that fight. And then, of course, we got on the other side, Cháirez, who was actually just 0-1, which was his Contender Series fight way back to – he lost to Clayton Carpenter. Now, Clayton hasn't done as well, and Cháirez has arguably done better, but Cháirez, man, he kind of scares me. I'm not sure how many of you guys in the chat were on him in the last fight where it was like – I forget who made the joke. I want to give them credit. But like it was like was the mafia or whatever, the cartel have like somebody hostage that said he couldn't finish the fight because and I'm biased, but I know I wasn't the only one. Many of us were on those finish props and round props for Cháirez, and he was kind of like just looking and kind of like checked out, which is kind of not really him. Win or lose, he's pretty competitive and he's going for it. He's not the most highest volume guy, but he's never that low volume, right? So that kind of scares me off. And then meanwhile, on the other side, Bruno Silva is a guy who I pick against a lot. And I don't like picking against him that much because I tend to be wrong when I pick against him. So I don't know if I'm in my own head. But I say all that to say is that this is a fight that I am scared to play. And I'm even having a hard time picking. I'm leaning towards Cháirez. That's probably going to be my pick here. I think the guillotines can deter. But, if Bruno Silva is able to get his wrestling going, that's a path. And again, Bruno Silva can crack too. If he's able to get on the inside and avoid that Poetan imitation left hook, he can get some things done here. So I'm not looking to get in the way of Bruno Silva, but I'm also not looking to pick him either. So Clint, I'm leaning towards Cháirez as my pick, but this is one that I'm not too committed on as far as a betting angle goes.
Yeah, this one is really close, you guys. It's another pick'em line here. You've got -130 for Bruno and then +110 for Cháirez. And I'm kind of with you, Dan. I think we're looking dog or pass here just a little bit because while Bruno is a guy that I've gone to multiple times, is a guy that I very much like betting on, is a guy that has these big abilities for comeback wins. You saw the Cody Durden knockout, all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, he is slowing down. He is getting older. And like even that comeback against Durden, if you guys remember, he got his ass beat all the way up until that point. Like Durden was winning 8 minutes of that fight until he got caught with the shot because he slowed down. Cháirez doesn't slow down. And Cháirez has more of like a sneaky ass jiu-jitsu style game than the relentless wrestling of a Cody Durden. So I think there's opportunities for like back takes and control time. And you mentioned the imitation Pereira left hook that he can do some damage on the feet as well. And nobody's ever knocked out Edgar Cháirez. So I do lean with Cháirez with you. I'll be honest with you. I think there's something to this guy.
Yeah, I think he's trending up, and I didn't look at his age compared to Silva's, but I'm going to guess that Silva is the older fighter, like he usually tends to be at this point of his career, which I'm not like the biggest person to go into, but that is a real thing we have to acknowledge, especially the lighter weight classes, right?
Cháirez is in his prime, man. He's 30 years old, and Bruno is 36.
Yep, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it's just a nice little 6-year age gap. It's not insignificant, I guess is a good way to put that.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, so slight lean with the dog there. Man, it's these pick'em fights, Dan. These pick'ems are the one where I feel bold enough to say that the dog is live, right? But some of these chalkier ones, I'm not quite so bold.
Yeah. I may have a bold underdog coming up, spoiler alert, but I feel you. Not many.
Not many. I'm with you. You got to watch out for the landmine on this kind of a card, Dan. Like it's going to be Chalk City. The parlay boys are so back this week, but there's got to be one, right? There's always one that ruins it. So I wouldn't be shocked if one or two of these big dogs that we're talking about comes through up here in just a minute. Speaking of, let's talk about Marcus McGhee and John Yanis. Marcus McGhee, who very recently fought Piotr Yan, very impressively, mind you. I looked back at it, and I looked at the judges' scorecards, and I was like, man, he lost to 29-28. Reasonably, it was a decent fight. But when you think about it, Piotr Yan gives up the first round to everybody. That's his whole thing. He downloads information. He always downloads information. He is not a guy who's going to run away with the full fight. He starts a little bit slow. We've seen that time and time again from Pyurian. So it's kind of like, okay, that really makes sense that Marcus McGhee was able to hang in there, but wasn't able to do much more than win that first round against a guy who frankly gives it up. So I like Marcus McGhee. I'm going to be honest. I do like him, but I'm a little bit skeptical of him. He's a little too old to be a prospect. He's one of these guys that kind of has to make it all work for him now if he's going to do anything in his MMA career. He's 10-2. He's 36 years old. He's training out of the MMA lab, and he's extremely patient, Dan. That's the thing that I think is interesting about him is he's very technical. He's very quick. He's very elusive. He has good footwork, but he just waits for the perfect moment to line you up. And when he does, he hits like a truck.
Athlete, man, you can see how he's moving. Baze is going to have to try to set some traps, try to get him cornered.
Oh, one shot.
Now, I know JP Buys is not the most durable fighter who's ever lived, but that's what this guy does. He's done that to more people than JP Buys. He's got 8 wins on his resume by knockout. Yeah. John Giannis is 10-4. He's 31 years old. He's got 6 wins by knockout, and he's coming off of his most impressive one yet, man. I thought they flew this dude out to lose in Canada. I said that about him very specifically. I was like, they're bringing this man to Canada to get his ass whooped. He makes his UFC debut against Austin Bashi, got taken down in the first round, climbed on his back, choked him out. It was over in the first. It was easy pickings for our boy Austin Bashi. Shout out Spectation Sports. He's a Spectation athlete. I was not big on John Giannis, but I watched the tape before the Jamie Siraj fight, and I said, okay, look, he hits hard. He could win this fight by knockout. He really could. Siraj is bad. But, Dan, I thought we were going to get this win in enemy territory, or I'm sorry, in his backyard. I thought he was going to win the fight in Canada against John Giannis, and then he would be a fade later on, and that didn't work out.
Siraj tries to tip, finds big elbow. Ground and pound. Giannis does enough to end it in round 1. That is a huge.
Yep.
And he was beating him up on the feet. He hurt him multiple times. Giannis shoots a bad takedown. This kid gets his hips back, and he went to work on the ground immediately, Dan. He's got very, very solid power. He is very dangerous. But I think this is a case of the bull and the matador. I think John Giannis is going to be coming forward trying to force a fight, and Marcus McGhee's just not going to have that. I fully expect McGhee to like fade out of range, counter, and then when he lands, I don't know if you're knocking out Giannis. He seems like a very tough dude. But I also wouldn't be surprised if Marcus can shift gears to grapple. We know Marcus can submit people as well. Maybe a sneaky look on Marcus to win this fight by sub. But I also wouldn't be surprised if it was just like a low-pace decision where he avoids the power and kind of stings Giannis every time he gets close to him and wins a fight running away. So I don't want to get too invested on like a finish here or anything like that. But I think Marcus McGhee is kind of the runaway favorite to win this fight. He is minus 500, obviously. So I'm not breaking any news here. But I do think John Giannis, he did impress me in his last fight. I know it was a huge step down in competition, way low-level opponent. This is a layup for McGhee, all things considered. But, I think McGhee is every bit worth that minus 500.
John Giannis, he was born. Sorry, I don't want to go into like a little Schwarzenegger thing. No, I thought you were going to go into a Morgan Freeman 7 impression when you were talking about the patience of a McGhee there. There's just like Morgan Freeman's like, he's well-educated, he's well-funded, and worst of all, he's patient. Go see 7, folks, if you want to see where movies like Saw or even the new Batman were inspired from. But as far as this film goes, between The Maniac Loves You, Marcus McGhee, 3-0 in that small octagon there, Clint. 0-1 for Giannis in that small octagon. Giannis is a southpaw, so McGhee, if you're curious, he is 1-0 against UFC level lefties. Beat my guy J-Mo, Jonathan Martinez, who was on a downtrend, is, I guess, still right. I hope he's all right. We haven't heard from him, granted, but still a quality win nonetheless. Now, he did lose to Jan, who will fight a lot from southpaw, but he's not a dedicated southpaw. He switched. He has a unique style, and he's Peter freaking Jan. How much can we really, criticize him for that? He had way more tools, but that being said, it's like a levels of toolboxes, because I agree with Clint's analysis. I think that McGhee, he's going to have tools as far as tactics, ways to counter, like Clint was saying. And I think that's where he's going to shine. And again, he might be older, but he's training with all the young guns, veterans alike, in what is easily worldwide, certainly in the United States, the best camp for 135 and around that neighborhood, which is the MMA Lab, right? All the guys we know about, and even all the guys we don't know about, there's just a ton coming up there. That's who this guy is training with. So I do think that grappling in the back pocket is actually something worth mentioning, Clint. Glad you mentioned that. So I got McGhee here, no surprise, and I got him in a 3-leg parlay because those are safe in MMA. I'll give you the rest of those legs as we go.
Okay, I like it. I'm with you. I think the parlay makes sense. I think the favorite makes sense as well. Let's get after it, man. Next fight up, we've got Iwo. They keep messing me up with that. We got too close. Baraniewski, and he's taking on Junior, the Juggernaut Tafa. We can just never escape the love of the Tafa bros. The UFC is convinced that we want to watch the Tafa brothers fight. I will say they're entertaining. Can't give them much more than that, but they are at least entertaining. Junior Tafa, the younger Tafa, dropped down a weight class. Honestly, looked like he's making some improvements, Dan. I got to give credit where it's due. He's 7-5, and he is just 29 years old. So there's still a lot of upside. There's still a lot of potential here. He's got 7 wins by knockout, and we were right, man. In his last fight, I said, look, minus 200 on a guy like this, you don't want to do it, but the UFC gave him a reset. The UFC saw he was making some improvements. The UFC saw that he was trying, and they gave him an opponent that he could fight. And so he goes out there and he knocks out Kevin Christensen. You guys, with Tafa, he's developed some first-level takedown defense. He can stuff that first shot that his opponents take. But then after that, it's the problem. If you can circle to the back, he's in trouble. If you keep coming in round 2, he's in trouble. He doesn't have the cardio to keep going. But it seems like the UFC likes him. They like the highlight reels that he puts up. And so they're going to keep bringing him back, hoping he continues to develop that takedown defense. Because when he's on, he does stuff like this.
Saved it from going unconscious, that's for sure. Oh, man, nice elbow there from Tafa. Clean elbow from Tafa. Now an uppercut followed by a hook.
You can't ignore the striking prowess. You can't ignore the raw power, the speed. He's very fun to watch when he's on the feet. Now, Iwo is the UFC's new fan favorite. He goes by Rudy, which, by the way, soft spot in my heart, man. Rudy is just an amazing movie. For any of you guys who are less than like 35 years of age, you probably never even heard of it. Legitimately one of the best movies of all time. The first time I saw my father cry, right? Like that kind of movie where dad doesn't shed a tear, right? Uncle Ben dies and it's no sweat, but we watch Rudy, the football player, and my dad's, dabbing his eyes on the pillow, hoping I don't notice over there in the corner. This kid is 8-0. 27 years old. He has inherited Jan Blachowicz' legendary Polish power. So I'm all in. He's got 6 wins by knockout, 2 by sub. He is a finisher of the highest caliber, 2-fight win streak, both in round 1. And his last one over poor Austin Lane was in less than 30 seconds. This guy's got serious hands.
Solid leg kick from Ali.
Everything about Ali is solid.
That is true. They were barely able to get his sweatshirt off when he got to the prep point.
So we have seen him do a little bit of everything, Dan. We've seen him be nice and patient and measured and line up a shot like that. We've seen him get in there in the battle of the woes, Ibo versus Iwo. He got in there and they had a 1-minute barn burner where both guys got rocked and hurt and his chin checked out and he came back and he won that battle. And we've seen him on the mat where he can get on top of people and he can strangle you and he can lock your arm up and he can just kind of bully you and break your limbs. This guy really does seem to have a very well-rounded skill set, but we can't, pretend that he's not a maniac. He's going to go in there face first and sling leather with Tafa. This is another one of those spots I always talk about, Dan. If you told me that Iwo's coaches were like, buddy, we got to take him down. We got to take him down. It's a max bet. It mortgage the house. Let somebody take a loan out on your car. Like he's not losing to Tafa if he grapples you guys. It's just not happening. but he's probably going to go out there hands low and sling leather, Dan. So what do you do at minus 350? Like, I'm with you. I think he wins. He should win. And frankly, inside the distance is the way to go, but I like the sub. I think he'll take him down. I think he'll choke him out. Easy peasy. Mm-hmm. But if he wants to have a dick swinging contest in the Apex, this could get hairy in a hurry.
So I'm hoping that the odds makers are thinking what you're thinking, Clint, because shout out to my guy, Billy Ward, over in the Action Network where I work as well. And he's been on a heater lately. We were both on the EWO. I teased a total takedown prop at 2. We already gave 1, right? Here's the other one, Clint. It's for Iwo Baraniewski. I was on it last time, and so was my guy, Billy. It was plus money. And, we figured, Austin Lane, super tall. You have that long, lanky heavyweight coming down. It's going to kind of want you, who strikes. It's going to kind of force you to close the distance. We've seen it time and time again, right? Even guys who aren't wrestlers and don't want to wrestle, they almost get panic wrestling when they have like a giant, lanky man in front of them, and they're at that reach advantage. It gets you paranoid. So I was like, oh, for sure. And he also does have a grappling background that's not talked about. He came up through jiu-jitsu. I mean, a lot of these Polish guys got some, good no-gi jiu-jitsu going on over there. And, I figured this was going to be the fight. He got to it. And, of course, Austin Lane being who he is, right? Probably shouldn't even have been in that fight or in the UFC as long as he is. Gosh bless him. But he gets iced pretty fast. And Baraniewski in the post-fight speech, if you remember, Clint, this is what's most annoying is because you're like, oh, I wasn't crazy with my bet even though it lost, because he goes, actually, our plan here was to grapple. I just didn't expect to catch him with the first punch. He's like, he said that him and his coach's plan, Clint, was to grapple. And now he's in the small cage, which forces grappling against a Tafa, brother. How is he not going to grapple? So what I'm saying is if you're looking at how to bet this fight, let's look for the total takedowns. Let's pray that they don't reverse line it and chalk the crap out of it. But that being said, what's it going to be chalked to at most? Minus 150? You know what I'm saying? That's still over half the line less. It's a line that could maybe even cash. And, even if he loses, which would be crazy that he would get a takedown and lose. But I would look for that. The sub is something I would put in a round robin if you're a round robin player like me, where you want those big value numbers, but you're not sure you want to go out and bet everyone in a card, right? Much less laying out legit exposure. So if you got, high price, oh, I like this guy in round 3, maybe this guy in round 1. I like this guy by sub. I like this guy by decision. If the numbers work out, like grab your 4 favorite, maybe 5 favorite if they're higher numbers, folks, and round robin them all for like, by 2s, so where you just need 2 of the 5 or 2 of the 4 legs to hit the profit. That's how you want to set it up. That's what I'm going to look for the sub. And I'm going to bite the bullet too. I mentioned the 3-leg parlay, which are stupid. I mentioned that. So I'm delivering on that, folks. Iwo Baraniewski is leg number 2.
I like it. So, hey, I hit a stupid 3-leg chalk parlay last week, Dan. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, buddy.
We can lock in 3 legs for even money. Sounds stupid, but you know what? Sometimes it works.
Hey, man, what do they say? Square bets cash all the time, too. Say what you will, but square bets cash all the time.
60% of the time it works every time. Tim, my man, says it's going to be terrible. Yeah. Why, Tim? This is as good as it gets. I mean, I know it's like it's heavyweight slop, but at 205, right? But like, how is this going to be terrible? We need the injection of chaos, okay? You give me 2 or 3 technical fights in a row, and I'm like, grab his dick, man. Grab his dick and twist it. Yeah. Like you need the moment of insanity to keep this long of a fight card going. So I'm here for it. I am here for it.
Where's our guy Pepe Sylvia? I know he's stoked for this fight.
I'm sure he is. Hey, you know what, though? I saw him on Twitter. He might be making a comeback for content. So usually Pepe can be found in the chat, but maybe he's off doing something this evening. Shout out real quick, you guys. Of course, Spectation Sports. I've been running with them for a while now. Things are going excellent. They are gathering new promotions all the time, and it is getting awesome. They've got 2 events this weekend from BTC. There's an amateur card coming up, and then it is followed by the pro card, and these things are stacked. There's a lot of really fun prospects on these cards with BTC. And of course, LFA has migrated over to Spectation Sports. You can catch the LFA prelims every single week, usually on Fridays on Spectation Sports. And because of that, I can hook you up. You guys are going to need to sign up for the streaming service, and I can get you 20% off. Promo code DieHard will get you 20% off when you sign up. Link in the description below. Don't say I never gave you anything. You guys definitely want to make sure to check them out, okay? It's nonstop fun, and especially like last week where we went to Macau, or the week before that where there was a break. You need your MMA action. This is where you're going to get it, okay? I watched Spectation Sports last week, and of course I signed up with my own promo code when I did so, and I got laid. Now, I'm not saying all those things are correlated, Dan, but it all happened to me, so it probably can happen for you too. I'm just saying. Back to UFC Vegas 118, everybody. We are breaking this card down top to bottom. I'm joined by my man, Dan Tom MMA. Please make sure you check him out. Give him a follow. Give him a shout. One of the I always say, you guys, my guests, I always say they're one of the good guys. You know why? Because that is a baseline for coming on my podcast. You've got to be like one of the fun guys, one of the good guys. You're not being a dick. You're not poking people with sticks. You're not throwing stones online. Like, if you're a good guy, that's how you got on my show in the first place, right? So Dan, obviously, one of the good guys. No, but seriously, like one of the best guys. Like Dan is freaking awesome, very intelligent, high-level analyst. Make sure to check out his work. Please support him. He's one of the good ones.
I don't know if anyone's going to agree with that, Clint, but I appreciate it. That's for sure, man. That's why I love you, buddy, and that's why I'm going to treat you to some. The place I'm going to take you to, by the way, it's called Zhao Long Dumplings, and since there's a guy named Long Zhao or Zhao Long who fights in the UFC, we can't forget that name. Okay, there's some dumplings, fried pork chops, and then all the dim sum with your name on it, buddy. We're
going to dim sum paradise next time I'm out there, man. It's happening. I need to win enough bets to afford the trip, but then we'll make it work.
Let's do it. Let's go.
Hell yeah. All right. Me and Dan were going back and forth this week talking about dim sum, you guys, and it's really funny, Dan. My best friend is a Native American. He's Navajo, right? So he's a Native American, and everyone thinks that he's Asian. So we go to dim sum together. I'm the token white guy in the group. Everyone assumes that he's Asian by looking at him. He's a little on the chubby side, and so he looks like he just fits the perfect. He's got a little bit of like the stringy mustache thing going on. That
I can relate to a lot of these things. Yeah.
It's just scary. It's just scary that it's like people have no idea he's a native. They all think he's Asian of some descent, and they welcome him in, and they give him chopsticks, and they hand me a fork.
That's hilarious, because when I had my hair long, I looked like a Native American, man. I looked like I was going to give talks about like, hey, don't throw your trash out in the woods. Clean up at your fires. Like I looked like it was crazy.
You got to do the braids or whatever. You can do what's his name? Knife Man.
Yeah. Oh man, there's a Halloween costume idea.
William Knife Man, is that his? I can't remember his first name. Oh,
anything of William Knight, Thick Willie.
No. My friends, my best friend sends me that GIF all the damn time. He thinks it's.
I've seen it. I don't know the name, but I've seen it.
Yeah, I can't remember. I'm fumbling the first name here, but he calls himself Knife Man, and then he does the call. Okay, anyway. All right, moving on. I've got plenty of stories about me and my native best friend, you guys, but for another day. Next up, we've got Matt Danger Schnell, and he's taking on Alessandro Costa. Oh boy, Dan. So you guys, I had a clip for you on this one. Matt Schnell has the biggest comeback in UFC history as far as I'm concerned. Sumadarji, we just saw last week. Like, Matt is a guy who we've been talking about his chin being dust for like 5 years. He hasn't been able to take a punch as long as I can remember. And he got beat pillar to post by Sumadarji for about 6 minutes. And then something happened. Like, he got one takedown. I don't know if Sue got tired. Like, the tide starts shifting, and then he's beating him up, and then he takes him down, and then he like rolls for a triangle. There's blood everywhere. It was awesome, but the clip is way too long. I'll get canceled forever and taken down on YouTube if I show it to you. So check out my Twitter; it's on there. But it's just one of the most blood and guts performances you've ever seen, Dan. I talk a lot about how I get robbed, and there's bad bounces and bad luck in MMA, and I bitch and moan about it. That's one of the ones that I can always look back to. You never remember your glorious wins. You always remember the stinging losses.
Yes.
This was my glorious win, Dan. I had Schnell by sub that night. It was like 6-1. I had Schnell by sub. Oh,
that's awesome.
And I couldn't believe it because he was dead. He was a dead man walking 3 minutes into the fight. Just unreal. So I will always forever be a fan of Matt Schnell. I am grateful to him. 36 years old, and he's 1-4 in his last. I'm sorry, 1-3. No, 1-4. I had it right. 1-4 in his last 5 fights, and all of those coming by finish. He got subbed by Joseph Morales. He got subbed by Cody Durden, which honestly, man, that's kind of the nail in the coffin for me. He's never had a chin, but people were not submitting Matt Schnell. Now they're hurting him and choking him out, and he can't do a damn thing about it. He got knocked out by Steve Ursig. He got knocked out by Mateus Nicolau. I mean, it's just been all downhill since like 2021 for this guy. He did get a win over Jimmy Flick, but I think the most embarrassing thing about that is he won by decision, Dan. I was like, Jimmy Flick, like, I love the guy. Another guy that I've like shared DMs with and stuff like that. Really cool person. I'm not trying to talk shit on him, but he was out of his depth when he came back from retirement. Like, he should not have unretired. Comes back to the UFC, and it's like guys like Matt Schnell just 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago, would be slicing through him, like just zero resistance. And Matt having to kind of grind out a win against him was like, ooh, like that's a win that looks bad. Now we're in the small cage. He's fighting this little Brazilian monster in Alessandro Costa. This guy's a beast. Now, he's a live and die by the sword type of fighter. He's been knocked out 3 times, so it's not like he's the most durable guy who ever lived. But he's got 6 wins by knockout, 6 wins by sub, and he just puts it on people with his hands and with his elbows.
Trying to make anything happen here.
Oh my goodness, heavy elbows coming down. Nasty. For Alessandro Costa, who puts an exclamation point.
Dan, you don't want to be under this kid.
Yeah.
You don't want to be under this kid. And that's Schnell likes a slow-paced, technical punching match. He does this weird thing where he's like looking out of the corner of his eyes. He like feints by like showing his shoulder, and he's like,
yes, yeah.
like that's how he strikes the entire fight. And it's all jab. It's these really quick little jabs. And then as soon as it turns into a brawl, he's not brawling with anybody anymore, Dan.
Yeah.
So Costa's gonna land a big power hook on him. And if Schnell goes for a takedown, or if he ends up on bottom, you just saw what he does to people that end up underneath him. Like this really feels like a death sentence to me. Now, they had this fight booked a long time ago, and Tapology doesn't show it, but it feels like it's been pushed back like twice or something. They've kept this fight together for some odd reason, and I think that reason is because Costa is the exciting future of the UFC, somebody who can put butts in seats, and he needs a highlight reel and a notable name on his resume. And Matt Schnell is a guy who's on his way out the door. The UFC is doing him no favors. I fully expect Matt Schnell to go to sleep in this fight, Dan. Like, I would love to see one last ride with the old dog. I would love to say, let's go to war one more time with my boy Schnell for S's and G's. I can't do it, man. I can't do it. I think Alessandro Costa is going to kill him.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Let me ask you a question real quick though. Was Matt Schnell in worse condition than Alex Perez was prior to the low blow? That is prior to the low blow.
Ooh, good question.
I feel like it should be a clear answer that it was Schnell, because he was like literally, as somebody who bet Sue, and that's not one I feel bad about. I don't consider that a bad beat. That was just a glorious fight.
He was in much worse.
I'm going to lose a bet, I'm going to lose in that. But the fight could have been stopped. Actually, was on the feet, but we don't do standing stoppages rarely in MMA.
No.
He was out. He was out rocked plenty times. Only the fight was going to be stopped. And we've still seen Sue drop the ball. That was the one point. I don't want to dig up that argument from before, but that was another point I'll add to, like, again, we were shooting to it was probably trending toward a draw with Perez and Sumadarji, right? And for as much talk as Perez about dropping balls, let's not forget Sumadarji has dropped balls before too, and having guys even way more hurt than he did. So I just want to throw that out there. For the people that, we're overly certain and coming at us for that. But as far as this fight goes, yeah, man. And again, I'm not like a tinfoil hat guy, especially after just defending like tinfoil hat stuff and touching on that. But I will say, Matt Schnell versus Jimmy Flick going to decision felt like Jailton Almeida, Derek Lewis were like, I'm not a tinfoil hat guy, Clint, but if you're putting a gun in my head and you're like, tell me 2 fights and you have to at least get one of them right where the fighters were in on it and wanted it to go over. And if there's a gun in my head and I have to give an answer, Clint, I'm telling Jailton Almeida versus Derek Lewis. Oh my God, I had one of the houses out here messed up, and they had Jelton Almeida for submission plus 420 in that fight. And I unloaded on it because it was a mess up, right? So I was just going nuts. Like, why are you not doing anything on top for 5 rounds, bro?
Yeah.
So maybe I'm biased.
Did they mess up, Dan? Or did they know?
Right. But with the flick and when you want to talk about like, oh, guys, in there for the money or whatever, like, we're talking about quitters. Yeah, there we go. Right. But it's like, look at Flick and Schnell, 2 guys that have been in and out of retirement, right? They retired out of the UFC, came back in. We all need money, so I hate to use that criticism. Oh, they're just fighting for money. Well, what else are they going to fight for? For fun?
Shit.
They better be fighting for money, right? But at the same time, like, if you wanted to levy those criticisms, like, those are the fighters you could levy that at, right? So you get those weird outcomes like that. Anyways, as far as this fight goes, obviously I'm going to be picking Costa here. Obviously he's going to get it done inside the distance. And this is one where I would look for, he's not the parlay piece because that money line is too atrocious. But what I will say is that, like, I'm not usually a fan of doing this, but I actually did it with his last fight. I think I parlayed Costa ITD with like 2 other things or whatever. And when he fought, I think when he fought Flick in that replay, and I don't know where it's going to be. My guess, Clint, it's probably going to be chalk to hell, like minus 250,
probably,
and maybe get bet up higher than that, right?
Which feels disgusting, by the way. Any time a prop is like minus 200, I feel like they never hit, but it makes sense in this case.
Exactly. And so this would be the case. You never hear me say this, but like this case for Costa, when he's facing guys like Flick or Matt Schnell, who are like the same type of dudes, like, yeah, man, I would take that inside the distance if your house allows it. And if there's like a short favorite or something like minus 200 or under, you can maybe even make a 2-legger out of it. You know what I'm saying? And get some plus money depending on what you pair it with. So it's not part of my parlay, but I'm keeping that door open, Clint. As crazy and as chalky and as disgusting as it is, I'm going to keep that door open to see if there's anything on the board that I could parlay with Costa ITD.
It's my kind of disgusting though, Dan. I like that. I like that. We'll see what happens. It makes sense though. I do think there's some fun that could be had there. I expect Costa to win. I expect him to win in emphatic fashion, probably early. Rest in peace, Matt Danger Schnell. It's been a fun run, my friend. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah.
Next up, Bryce Thug Nasty Mitchell takes on Santiago Luna. A battle of the grapplers here, Dan. Thug Nasty, we know this guy pushes a pace. We know he's got that Arkansas tough, right? Throw those hay bales, baby. He's 31 years old. I actually thought he was a little bit older than that, so that's interesting. He's in a bit of a weird position right now. He's coming off of, kind of the alternating wins and losses thing, right? Josh Emmett rearranged his face. Then he had that fight with Kron Gracie. Then Gene Silva choked him out and decided, hey, you don't belong in this weight class anymore, buddy. He got a win over Said Nurmagomedov, and now he's really trying to kind of settle in and reestablish himself in this weight class. He's not a very good striker. He's serviceable enough. He's got great ground and pound, but he really is just kind of smothering, constant pace type of grappler. I will note, though, like I mentioned, when he's got somebody on the mat, he does have some raw, natural farm boy power.
That's the second one. Look, no.
One of the worst fights I've ever seen, man. Kron Gracie, the Gracie family needs to hang their hat on this man. And what does he do? He goes out there and pulls guard like 20 times over the course of the fight. Now, who knows if Grandpa Gracie was like, you have to make the jiu-jitsu a part of your game. You're not allowed to shoot takedowns. You must play from your back. Like maybe he got a message, right, from the dark beyond that's what he had to do in this fight. Totally possible. But at the end of the day, it did not go well for him. And I don't think he would repeat that strategy if he had the opportunity to do something differently. At any rate, I am not huge on Bryce Mitchell in this day and age. Like, I recognize his strengths. I recognize that he is a very good grappler. I recognize that you do have to respect him. He is tough. He will out hustle people. Realistically, he's only lost to Ilia Topuria, Gene Silva, and then just the perfect right hand of Josh Emmett, which if you run it back in 2026, that probably does not happen again. Santiago Luna, though, is 8-0, undefeated, 21 years old, fighting out of Intram Gym. Now, Intram is on the rise, Dan. I don't need to tell you that. There's a couple of gyms getting hot right now, and Intram is one of them. This kid, the UFC, I think, believes they have a star on their hands, because he got to the UFC, not through Dana White's Contender Series or anything like that. He got signed normally. He bangs it out with Quang Lee in his UFC debut. He gets a little rocked by Quang Lee early, but let's be real, who doesn't? And then he immediately turns it on him and puts belt to ass.
Nice! Set him down.
Huge punch shuts him down.
What a fight already.
Left hook.
Luna's about to get him out.
Oh my goodness, Lee's still firing back. Luna trying to stay poised. Crazy pace. Santiago.
He got the finish.
Dan, this kid is relentless. I mean, fast hands, God-given power, and actually he's a very good wrestler. This was something I didn't realize. I was doing my research on this fight, you guys, and he was supposed to wrestle in the Olympics for Team Mexico, Dan. He was a really, really good college wrestler. He was supposed to go to ASU. And so this whole thing was set for him to train and become an Olympic wrestler, and he went, you know what, though? I'd rather do MMA. And that's the kind of thing that we're going to start seeing over the next couple of years, right? These kids that have been watching Conor McGregor and stuff. And, these days it's not even Conor McGregor. They're going to be watching Ilia Topuria now. Like, we're going to have a generation coming up that are picking MMA as their sport instead of going and being Olympic wrestlers. He could have been an Olympic wrestler. He chose to come to MMA instead. This is a A-plus caliber athlete that decided to fight instead of going to wrestle. So he's a very good wrestler, something you're going to need against Bryce Mitchell. He's got very fast hands, and he's developing. He's training at a good gym with great training partners. Dan, I am very interested in Santiago Luna. I've got this kid circled as being something that's kind of a big deal, and I'm reading the UFC matching him up with a guy like Bryce Mitchell as we need to get a recognizable name on this kid's resume. We need to get this kid a signature win, somebody who he beats that lets everybody know he is serious. Okay. Bryce Mitchell is a guy who he's usually the one doing the takedowning. I know that I just made that word up myself. But he's got a 33% takedown defense. When people decide to wrestle Bryce, he actually can be taken down and put on his back instead. I think Luna's fully capable of that. And Luna's obviously the better striker. I think this kid's got an incredibly high ceiling. And you know what, Dan? Maybe it's too early. Maybe it's too early. But I don't care. I'm going for it. Folks, that is your Link Memorial Dog of the Week right there. Right. We are riding with Santiago Luna to upset Bryce Thug Nasty Mitchell. He's a plus 120 underdog right now. So it's not Tafa, right? Like I'm not going for another plus 400. Last week, I hung the balls out. I dipped them in, I dipped the ball sack in the fireball and then I set it on the table. I'm not doing that this week. Okay. Like we're going for the short underdog this week, trying to get back on track with the dogs barking. I like this kid. I think he's a future legend in this sport. We're going Santiago Luna.
Wow, interesting. I like it. I don't like going. I don't like the bet that I have on this fight. I like it even less now, Clint. We're gonna have some head-to-head action. So, by the way, Matt Schnell. By the way, he's 0-3 in the small cage, 0-4, all losses by stoppage. Just to kind of put a hammer on that. That was one of the more notable small cage stats. As well with Mitchell. Mitchell is the opposite record. Mitchell is 3-0 in the small cage. Luna 0-0. We still haven't seen him in the small cage. But the small cage does encourage grappling. And I think you're right. Mitchell is actually very takedownable, right? His takedown depends, not just statistics. It's not great.
Trademark, by the way, you guys. Dan gets a pass because he's on the podcast. But anybody else who wants to use takedownable, you guys have to pay me a royalty.
Okay, there we go. Takedownable. There we go. And that's absolutely there. You're not wrong. But here's the problem: is I don't think he's going to want to do that. I think you're right. He's got better striking, better boxing, I should say, than Bryce Mitchell, and that's what he should be sticking with for this fight, right? But here's the issue that I have is that not only is Luna just still overly young and stuff, that's why I actually took Quang Lee against him, because I'm like, this kid is super hittable, right? Or even in fights that I didn't outright, fade the people, like I think I took Kevin Borjas over Emmanuel Rodriguez, which sounds crazy, but again, Rodriguez kind of the same thing, where he's got good boxing, good power, athleticism, the ceiling's high, but he's young and the game is still disjointed. Now, Luna was disjointed and janky. However, he made, as he should, and that's the upside. What you should be liking if you're like Clinton, you have a Luna ticket. This is what you should be liking, because the fight progress, fight to fight progressions are on your side. This kid is 21, and even in his last fight, that jankiness that I was marking him down on, it's much more fluid, right? Now it's still disjointed as far as when and how he's transferring phases and what he's doing down there. But you see the potential. This kid could be championship level. Absolutely. I don't doubt that at all. However, you got to take your losses in MMA. And what are those prospect losses usually come by? Whether you're looking at Conor McGregor's record or these other people, it's usually something on the ground that happens, like a submission, you get caught in a submission, or you get caught doing something stupid like John Jones to Matt Hamill or whatever. That they happen earlier in their careers, and they're usually on the ground against veteran opponents. That's where the banana peels tend to happen. And with this fight, Mitchell actually had a full camp, and Luna is actually stepping in on this one at short notice. I like Luna's progression so far, because you were giving him names that were like, oh, you look at it and he should beat him. Now, I was pushing back a little bit. I didn't pick Angel Pacheco, obviously, but I did pick Quang Lee. But even in that Angel Pacheco fight, right? Like, Angel Pacheco's tough and you got to give him his flowers, but he wasn't able to get him out of there. And it wasn't so much that he ran out of ideas. I'm not going to, come at him that hard for not getting him out of there. He did look good. But as the fight went on, we saw some bad decisions, and he was giving up takedowns in bottom position. And it wasn't so much because of the wrestling, because to your point, Luna's got great wrestling, but he was dropping for guillotines and making kind of amateur moves. Now, he was able to scramble out, good knee shield, a good get-up style against a guy like Mitchell. But where does Mitchell excel? He excels once you get him in that spin cycle. Now, I took a flyer and picked Saeed Nurmagomedov, and I really like my bet there because that was a finish-only bet, and Saeed's the best fighter to bet finish-only props, Saeed Nurmagomedov. And if you look at that fight, it was really close. It really came down to like one wrestling exchange in round 2. But that's the thing, is Bryce Mitchell, he can do those dogfights, those really uncharacteristic kind of scrambles and stuff. And it's something that you don't want to get involved in. Even if you're an experienced Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and I know this guy's been on a terrible run, terrible name, like a Charles Rose or whatever, but you look at the guys on Mitchell's resume, and he's been able to run circles around those guys, even in their quote-unquote strengths. And I'm not a big Bryce Mitchell fan, obviously. I would not suggest going to his Instagram or his stories. It'll probably make you want to bet against him. But
gotta try to keep the personal levels out of it, right?
But to my credit, that's what I'm doing here. I'm the guy with a Bryce Mitchell ticket because he opened at -250 and at -138. Clint, I couldn't say no. I had to fire on that. For the perceived value. I could be wrong. I'm making it so my night's not going to hinge on that bet. Hopefully, I got a bigger parlays and stuff to hopefully carry me the way. But man, this could be one of those hindsight fights where it's just like, oh yeah, the more experienced grappler in the small cage against the young guy on short notice. Like this was just maybe just one of those learning lesson type of spots. So give me Mitchell here. And I don't know who's managing some of these fighters. We saw it with Taliesin Teixeira, where it's like, Taliesin, you made the right move. You went to train with Teixeira MMA. These were great signs, but like, why are you taking a fight against Pavlovich? Like, I don't know who's signing these fights for these people, because we were on a clear prospect building, and Luda can win this fight, Clint. You can cash your ticket. I'll be happy for you. And shouts to Link. Of course, I'm always rooting for that. But at the same time, like how, I don't know how high we can be on Luna yet, so I'm gonna take a shot here, Clint. We'll see. I don't like it. I don't like being on opposite of you, man. But I'm gonna take a shot.
I hear you. Hey, you and me are gonna be like Harry Potter and Voldemort, man. The two fades going head to head with each other.
There we go. Yeah. Who do you pick, folks? Now, good luck. Good luck. Pick a side on this one, folks.
All cursed, every single one of you.
No contest. We're gonna have Herb Dean ref in this one.
Oh my God. That would honestly just be the most appropriate outcome of all time. If it ended
up
being a draw or no contest, that'd be so funny.
We have to celebrate that still. We still have to celebrate that if that happens.
Absolutely. Oh my God. If our curses are so powerful, it evens out. That'd be
awesome.
Oh, that'd be good stuff. Okay, you guys, let's keep it rolling. Next up, we've got Faraz Ziam, and he takes on Tom Nolan, the big train himself. That's a fun nickname. Interesting fight, Dan. Another very intriguing fight. There's a lot of them on this card. I actually think this is like, even though we talk about these chalky price tags and stuff like that, this is going to be a fun fight card, man. Faraz is really coming along. He's tall, he's long, he's lanky. Like, we all mocked this guy coming out of France. Like, no chance he's going to be able to fight, right? Zaragan He doesn't finish nobody. He's the biggest, muscliest man in the UFC, and he's still, still sitting on the fence, right? Like the jokes write themselves. But Faraz at 18-4, 29 years old, he's really coming into his own now, man. He's on a massive win streak right now. 6-fight win streak. He's got 2 finishes in there against Matt Frevola and Nazim Sadikov. And I got to tell you, I thought the Matt Frevola one was a little bit of a fluke. I thought maybe that knee was a little bit of an outlier. And then he did this to Nazim Sadikov.
Knowing instinctively what to do.
Two huge elbows at the end of round 2. We may not get to round 3. There's the horn.
Oh, he stopped it.
Jason Herzog.
What seemed like a nothing burger moment, he turned into one of the most brutal tomahawk elbows we've ever seen. And I'll be honest with you, Dan, I think Faraz is hitting his corner. I think he's hitting his stride. It's not that he's, before he was winning all these like greasy decisions. He got choked out by Terrence McKinney. He's jabbing a lot of people. He's push kicking a lot of people. Split decision over Claudio Puelles. But you got to realize, this guy is really coming into his own. I thought he was kind of toast after the whole paint gate thing. The Mike Davis fight a couple fights ago, he got taken down. His knee really looked like it got absolutely shredded. I have no clue how he was able to stand up after the scramble he got caught in by Mike Davis. But Mike Davis slows down, gasses out, and Faraz takes over that fight and wins. I thought it was a fix, Dan. I thought it was a fluke. I thought something weird was going on. But you bookend it with the Frevola and the Sadikov KOs, and it's like, maybe this kid's just really fucking good. Maybe he's just really figuring it out and coming into his own. And that's kind of the way I'm leaning here with this guy right now. Tom Nolan is 10-1, and he's a real exciting prospect out of Australia. He's just 26 years old. So another really young potential phenom, up-and-comer type guy. He knocked out Bogdan Grad on Dana White's Contender Series. This kid came to the UFC with some serious hype around him. He's a big-time finisher. He was just running through people on the regional scene. And then he gets to the UFC, and he gets smoked by Nicholas Mota in the first fight, Dan. And that right there, I was like, oh, fraud. Complete fraud. You don't lose to Nick Mota. You especially don't get knocked out by Nick Mota if you're going to be anything. You watch his next couple of fights, and he's really kind of starting to protect the chin. It's a situation where it's almost like he's a chinny veteran, He's like an elder statesman who knows he can't take the shot anymore. He's kind of slowed down his pace. He's established his range. He's not as reckless anymore. He also is leveling up in new and different ways to make sure he's not having trouble anymore. He handled Vyacheslav Borisov. He's coming over a round 1 rear naked choke over Charlie Campbell, which is a big deal. That was a really fun fight, a really good opponent. So he's also quietly building a resume here. And now these guys are in a car crash with each other. This is a really fun fight. Tom Nolan, I think, has an exceptional ceiling. I'm just scared of his durability. You go back and you watch some of his other fights, and even Victor Martinez, he knocks out Victor Martinez in the first round, but not before he gets sat on his ass, Dan. There's a moment there where he gets caught, he gets sat down. There's that, oh shit, look in his eyes. He ends up fighting back and winning because he's that damn good. But there's a weakness there. He's got a hole in his jaw, okay? And so even though this first instinct, I looked at this number and I went, that's wide. You got Faraz minus 325. Tom Nolan is plus 260. But the more I think about it, yes, Faraz got taken down by Terrence McKinney and choked out, and arguably that's probably Tom's path to victory, is like a grappling-based attack. But after seeing what Faraz has done in his last couple fights, and especially the Mike Davis fight, I think he's made improvements in that area. You can't patch up your chin the way you can patch up your submission defense, Dan. I think at some point, Faraz is going to touch Tom on the jaw. And these are both extremely tall, long, lanky type guys. They are airmailing. They are emailing their punches to each other. They're way out of range, right? Most people, these guys usually don't take somebody on who matches their height and reach just because of the way they're built. So when Faraz is able to catch and land on Tom when he's not used to being touched, I think that's going to be the difference maker. And I think Faraz is going to continue highlighting. I actually think he's going to knock Tom Nolan out this weekend.
Nice. Okay. I'm on the same page with you on this one.
Let's go.
This is tough because it's tough too, though, because these are two guys that I've traditionally not been a big believer in. Obviously been proven wrong on the Ziam side. I don't know. Hashtag is it racist? I always would confuse Ziam with Belal, and I treated both these fighters the same. I underrated the crap out of both of them, and I paid dearly for it, right? For the most part in their recent runs, right? So I don't want to do that. And Nolan, I was a bit vindicated with it because you were right. There were some signs there, and I don't like to use the F word. And even after cashing the Nicholas Mata bet when I was on an island I still wasn't trying to throw that word out. And we've seen Tom Nolan improve. I tried to fade him again against Vyacheslav Borishev, and Borishev's obviously on his way out. And that aside, got to give Tom Nolan credit to like you said, Clint. He showed improvements, right? A smarter game, wasn't just rushing in there, but he's still getting hurt. And the whether it's the winless Borishev, Alex Perez, or if I just messed that name up, or his most recent fight against Charlie Campbell, which was not just short notice, but short notice in Australia. So Charlie had to go all the way from New York, USA, to Australia there. So and he still had his moments. So excuse me,
bless you.
All right, thank you. But yeah, But still, I'm still not like the biggest believer in Nolan. I think he can get better. I think that's an important point that you brought up. It's the same thing with Luna, right? Like these are young kids who should be getting better. That being said, I still think Ziam, I think he's patched up his grappling. Like you said, I think he's a better grappler. I was on the Anakin Florian podcast this morning, and I felt a whole lot better, Clint, when Kenny Florian was saying he also was picking Ziam because he also thought he had the edge in the grappling, because we got two tall guys striking. That can be a bit of a mess. We're in the small cage. The grappling may decide it. And on paper, yeah, Nolan got a rear naked choke, and Ziam's lost to a rear naked choke in that Apex against the southpaw, right, where he's 2-2, by the way, for a Ziam against UFC level lefties. But and Sadikov didn't look great his last time out, but still, Ziam looked good. He was countering. He was throwing his jab in the open stance, which like fighters think they can't do because they listen to Daniel Cormier, who says you could only lead with his right hand. You're like, oh my gosh, dude, you the guy that got knocked out by the southpaw kick from John Jones, death taxes, and wrestle boxers dipping into that stuff. But yeah, give me Ziam here. He is the third leg to the parlay. So I got Ziam, Baraniewski, and McGhee plus 114, 2 units.
Okay. All right. Well, I think it makes some sense, and I'm very glad to hear that we've got big Florian on our side. I was always a fan of Kenny Florian, so that's freaking cool. You get to do the show with Ken Flo and Anik. That is awesome. I like the Anik and Florian podcast. I've listened to them quite a bit, so really cool that you get to go on with them from time to time.
Super grateful. Don't take it for granted whenever they call. I just answer like, what are these guys calling me for? I'll take it.
Well, man, that's just should boost your confidence on the fact that you know your shit.
Thanks, man.
All right, guys. Co-main event of the evening. We've got Brendan Allen taking on Edmen Shahbazyan. Dan, this is weird.
Yeah,
this is a weird fight. The whole Edmen Shahbazyan thing. If you guys have seen Mean Girls, like it's not going to happen. It's not a thing. Like, why are we trying to make Edmen Shahbazyan a thing? 16-5, 28 years old, training out of Extreme Couture. Like, how is he just 28, Dan? How is he just 28 years old?
Yeah.
They have given Edmen Shahbazyan more resets than anybody I've ever seen. The UFC is convinced that this kid is going to be a title challenger. Like you can show them everything. You can, read them the riot act. You can show them the video. They don't believe you. They know he's going to eventually be relevant in this weight class. He gets beat and he gets a couple steps down. They give him a little bit more time. And realistically, I have said in the past, Dan, I'm like, he's under 30. Like, this guy has so much time to continue growing and developing. They thought he was going to be a McGregor-level all-star right out the gates, and he just didn't develop that quickly. He's got time on his side now, though, so he's not even – it's not like a balls-to-the-wall thing here. If he loses again and they give him another couple of warm-ups, like, he could be like a Jake Matthews type where he's just around forever, and then at 32 it clicks, and all of a sudden he's a contender. Like, he's seriously still got like a 4 or 5 year window right now. It's honestly insane. Yes. This guy has the death touch, Dan. Edmen Shahbazyan has always had the death touch. 13 wins by knockout. Usually these wins come very early in the fights. But when he decides to go, you better be ready. Like, this man comes with a quickness, and he hits like a truck. His striking is gorgeous. The biggest thing was he really wasn't capable of grappling. He's got really rough cardio, man. He's easy to take down. Once he's on the ground, he didn't have a good get-up game. That's changed. He's got a decent get-up game now. He's really worked on that, but he does still kind of have sketchy cardio at times. Now, in his last fight, they gave him Andre Muniz, and Muniz was just the perfect foil, Dan. I called this one. I will say, like, I got to pat myself on the back because I was like, look,
Nice.
They're giving him a dangerous grappler. He will get taken down. Andre's gassy. Andre Muniz is an incredible grappler, but he gasses out too. So they are giving Gassy Ed a guy who will slow down at the same rate of speed as he does. And sure enough, what happened? Edmen gets up, and then he puts Andre Muniz in a box.
Yeah, that's good. For Shahbazyan. Down goes Muniz. Shahbazyan trying to get the Brazilian out of there late round one. And he does with 2 seconds to go. The golden ball.
Now, the one thing I'll say is that I've always told people to watch for the live bet because he lost to Gerald Mearshart, choked out in the second round, right? He lost to Nasruddin Imavov, beaten up in the second round. He lost to Derek Brunson. He got knocked out in the third. Like, he goes for those finishes, Dan. He's got really good killer instinct, but he empties the tank. He leaves nothing left if he misses on that finish. And that's something that I think can come back to bite him, you guys. If it's an Edmen Shahbazyan fight, you want to be watching live because it's a gold mine opportunity. If he starts to fade and he doesn't get the finish, you'll get an even money on the guy who was favored pre-flop. You'll only have to lay minus 125 on the guy who was minus 250 pre-flop. And then you just pile in. Like, you just know it's coming because he can't do it after he empties the gas that way. Now, he's taken on Brendan Allen, another guy who I've had kind of a tenuous relationship with. Belal always makes fun of me for picking against Brendan Allen. No joke. He laughs at me. 26-7. He's 30 years old, and he is a guy that's moved out to train with Belal, and it really has done kind of wonders for his game. He's a 2-2 in his last 4. Losses to Fluffy Hernandez, no shame. Lost to Nasruddin Imavov, again, kind of no shame. That guy's probably going to be fighting for a title soon. He bounces back against Marvin Vittori. Not really a great win in 2026. I still bet against him and lost money on it. And then he beat my boy Reiner de Ritter. Now, he filled in on short notice on that one, Dan, and I got to tell you, maybe one of the most impressive things I've seen in a long time. I've always criticized Brendan Allen's cardio. You know, you think back to his Chris Curtis fight, even the 5-round Chris Curtis fight. They robbed my boy Chris that night. Chris was beating him up. Brendan Allen was running for his life in the 5th round. Like, he had nothing left to offer, and Chris was hunting him. It was a fight that I feel like Chris really should have won. That's what Brendan Allen is, I feel like. You know, he's a good wrestler. He's a very good grappler, very good submission artist. But this last fight against Reiner de Ritter, something was different, man. Like, I know Reiner's a jiu-jitsu guy, but he's one of the bigger, stronger guys in the weight class. And I saw Brendan Allen running for his life against Chris Curtis, who's a natural 170-pounder. And then just mauling somebody like Reiner de Ritter. Styles make fights. I know, I get that. But the cardio issues over the last couple of years do seem to be trending the right direction for Brendan Allen. And I don't know if that's because he's working with Belal these days, or, you know, maybe he's got a better work ethic. Maybe he got a fresh set of supplements. I don't know. But he seems to be better in the cardio area. Now, the one thing I will say about Brendan Allen is, he's not the most durable guy ever. And again, I'll harken back to the Chris Curtis fight. When Chris made it to the UFC, he knocked Brendan Allen the fuck out in the 2nd round. And then he almost did it again in the rematch. And we have seen Brendan Allen wobbled many, many times. Now, I know he's only been actually knocked out twice, but there's been multiple UFC fights he's been in where he's been hurt and had to kind of push and survive and work his way through it. And that's always been the thing that kind of hovers over me. I've got to fully admit to you guys, when I'm wrong, I tell you guys. When I fuck up, I tell you guys. Like, I've got this built-in bias against Brendan Allen. And I honestly blame Chris Curtis, because cashing that ticket on Chris Curtis back in the day when he knocked out Brendan Allen, that forever had me going, yeah, Allen's just not that good. And I was never able to, like, shift off that thought process. I was never able to give him the credit for the improvements that he's made. And now we've got him in this spot where I'm going, okay, I want to fade Brendan Allen, but is that just my brain doing its thing where I just don't believe in Brendan Allen because it's Brendan Allen? We've got Edmen Shahbazyan, who is just the easiest click to fade. If you've got a grappler, if you've got a wrestler, Edmen's dead. He can't beat a guy who's going to consistently wrestle him. But seeing that he's got a little bit of a get-up game, seeing that he's got that killer instinct, and then going against a guy in Brendan Allen who personally I think is a little chinny, a little wilty, maybe doesn't have the greatest heart you've ever seen. Like, that's maybe the kind of guy that Edmen might be able to beat on a step up like this. I don't know how interested the UFC is in doing Brendan Allen any favors, but they sure as hell seem to be interested in giving Edmen Shahbazyan winnable fights. You've got Brendan Allen right now is a minus 220 favorite. Edmen Shahbazyan is a plus 180 underdog. And it's another head and heart thing, Dan. Like, I know I need to be betting Brendan Allen here. And there's something keeping me away from it. I just feel like that the quick strike power of Edmen Shahbazyan, training at Extreme Couture, where my boy Chris Curtis likes to hang out and do business, a guy who, in my opinion, has beaten Brendan Allen twice. Like, they're going to have the playbook. They're going to have the exact playbook on how to get this guy out of there. I really want to fade both guys. So I hate this line. I will pick Brendan Allen to win the fight because I will always fade Edmen with a grappler. But I don't think I'm actually betting this one, man. What are you doing?
So this is tough, man. This is my bold pick. So I'm sure you guys can guess where I'm going here. But this is interesting because Edmen, I just interviewed him, by the way. That's over up at Home of Fight. I said I have an interview I just did last week. So if you guys want to check that out, that would be cool. But Edmen is a guy who, and I'm not doing this because of bias. I picked against Extreme Couture fighters all the time. I picked against Sean Strickland, wrongly the last 2 times, right? So it's not just that. And if anything, like, I was a fade Edmen guy, right? Like, I don't like the hype jobs, like Clint was saying, where they're overly hyping a guy, they're pushing him too fast to market. He's a round one or bust guy. Like, those are the guys I love to fade, and I did fade. However, not just because he's like Extreme Couture or because that's where my gym is and this and that, but like, I've been seeing this guy. Like, last year, I'm finally gonna get my fat ass back into working mitts. But usually I would share the cage with Edmen for his mid session with Nixick. So I'll be with my coach, and Edmen would be with Nixick, and I was watching him for the last 2 camps outside of his third one because I've been working out for a minute now, right? But I have been seeing him in the gym and seeing his rounds, and I like what I see. I don't like to speak too out of school, and even if I did, it doesn't matter, right? Whether I'm saying good things, whether I'm saying bad things. You can be like, this fighter looks great, and he can still lose, right? We can be like, oh, Renato Moicano, who's already a big dog who we don't think is going to win against Benoit Saint Denis. Well, he's got a messed up collarbone. Imagine if you had that information. How hard would you have bet Saint Denis? Which is another reason why I say never be afraid to fade the public steam and shut up about the injury rumors, folks, because they're all injured.
I did. All you had to do was look at him. The thing was dislocated.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Well, but it's like one of those things where it's just like that's how volatile this game is, right?
I lost so much money that night.
I probably ended up on the losing night too. I didn't have Moicano, that's for sure. So I'm with you there, buddy. But yeah, like it's funny like that. Now, Allen in the Apex, he's 6-2, 7-2 with Dana White Contender Series. You almost forget that Brendan Allen was a Dana White Contender Series fighter. Is that crazy to say? That's how long this thing's been around. Man. Yeah, but those 2 losses, well, guess who those are to? To Clint's point, they were 2 Extreme Couture guys, Sean Strickland and Chris Curtis. And even in the Strickland fight, I believe, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say Allen was a favorite in that fight, or like projected to win, I believe. So he's lost fights that he's supposed to win. And like we saw with the RDR fight, like, you got to give him his flowers. I'm with Clint. Absolutely. I did not expect that. Massive props. It
was a pick 'em.
On short notice. Okay, it was pick 'em. But he was supposed to lose that fight and he wins, right? So the point is, I don't know how consistent Brendan Allen is, as far as when he's supposed to win or when he's supposed to quote unquote lose. And he has fought Extreme Couture guys quite a bit, He's 2-2 against them because he lost to Curtis. He lost to Strickland. He beat Curtis in a controversial decision, right? That Clint went over. And then he also beat Puna Soriano in one of Puna's like worst performances. Puna's down at welterweight where he belongs now, right? And that Puna fight was in the big cage. And so in other words, he could be 1-3 to Clint's point against Extreme Couture fighters. And all 3 of those were in what? They were in the Apex, right? And regardless of the result of all 4 of those fights, that's 4 passes you're giving a guy like Eric Nixick in that Extreme Couture team to figure you out if they haven't already. Now, it's up to the fighter ultimately to do that and execute. But let's just say I really like what I've been seeing from Edmen, that composure. It's because I used to like to fade him because of what Clint said. But Clint, I would argue in these fights, it's not just from what I'm seeing or hearsay in the gym, because you can say whatever you want, right? It's what are the results when it counts, and what have we been seeing? Not just wins and greens in his win column there, but he is showing a lot more composure. I mean, this guy was fiery. I remember watching him even corner his brother Leon. Like, I don't know if people caught on broadcast because I was covering those from cage side over here at the Apex, but Edmen had to get escorted out from security. He was going so freaking nuts. Like, this guy, like, in or out of the octagon, I'm like, this guy can't control himself. I'm going to fade him, right? So I'm coming from that bias. But now, Clint, you know, am I running to the betting window? No. May I bet it? If he gets a 2-on-1, sure. I'm not running to the betting window, but I am a believer enough to change my opinion, man. Because to your point, Clint, you mentioned something really important. We see this. I alluded to it, you know, where we're seeing the reason why we're seeing older fighters win is not necessarily because of drug programs, right? Like, a lot of the times it's just experience. These aren't necessarily old fighters. They're just more experienced, and fighters are getting rushed to market, right? And here's the thing, you touched on this with Edmen earlier, Clint, is that to his credit, he survived. A lot of those guys, they get washed out. When they get found out, they get washed out. How many times have we seen it, Clint, right? Not only is Edmen still here, which, by the way, holding a roster spot in today's age of UFC with their turnover, that's impressive alone, right? Which is another reason why I got to stand out for my guy, Brad Tavares. I know he's not an exciting fighter, but just the fact that he's been around this long is kind of insane. And Edmen, I think these fighters like Edmen, where they survive that hazing, right? They get hazed hard in college where they make it to the big show. But if they survive that hazing, Clint, it doesn't mean they're going to have a great career. But to your point, Clint, it opens the door to where this guy's still young and he can have that veteran kind of second career. Maybe he's on it now. I don't know. This is more of a vibes pick as well, admittedly, which I don't do. But I think this is one of the busters that you were talking about, Clint.
Okay.
Edmen Shahbazyan here.
Bold call, Dan. Bold call. I like it. I like it. So we'll see where this number goes. That's the kind of stance that can sway a degenerate like myself. And like I said, I really do want to fade both guys. So plus money on one of the guys you want to fade seems like probably the way to go. Yeah, I got a hard time getting around Edmen Shahbazyan's grappling concerns, but at the same time, if I jump on Instagram and I see him taking pictures with my boy Chris Curtis, is like, okay, they're gonna know that game plan, man. They're gonna be ready for this one. So it's gonna be a really intriguing fight.
Let's hope he sticks to it. But the one thing I will say, that the couple of times I did see him get taken down, which was few, he smartly butt scooted, got his back right to the fence, got that underhook, and got up. And of course, the reason why maybe Extreme Couture had that stat I said earlier against Brendan in the small cage is because Extreme Couture is one of the gyms where they have two cage sizes. They actually have the small octagon and the big one. So depending on what fight you're getting ready for, you're actually training in cage appropriate octagons, which is not the case for most gyms. Most gyms are lucky they even have a cage. So I really like these small cage fights as being one of the only gyms with the small cage.
That is as would be expected of Coach Nixick. That's very intelligent of them to be able to change it up and shift gears like that for this training. Interesting. So at this point, you guys, my pick is Brendan Allen. I'm begrudgingly saying, all right, fucking fine. He's good enough. I have to pick him to win the fight. But I'm not confident it's going to stay that way. Again, built-in bias. Don't listen to me on this one. Main event of the evening. Belal Muhammad takes on Gabriel Bonfim. And you guys know this is a Belal Muhammad podcast. We remember the name here on the Die Hard MMA podcast. Belal, just one of the most underrated fighters in UFC history. A guy who reminds me a little bit of like a John Fitch, where he really probably was the best guy in the division, and the UFC was like, nah, people don't like you enough, so they're not going to give him the opportunities. He literally had to force their hand to take a shot at the title. He had to win way more fights than any of his other people in the weight class, right? Any of his peers in the weight class. He had to do so much more to get the opportunity. And then when he got there, he made it count. He's 37 years old. He got that title. He got gold wrapped around his waist. Unfortunately, he was not lying when he said he was going to box with Jack Della Maddalena, which to this day, I don't, one of the highest IQ fighters in the game. I have no idea why he decided to go out there and try and prove a fucking point. And fought closely enough with Jack Della that they took that title away from him. And then he lost to Ian Gary, which that one did surprise me a little bit. I know Ian Gary is very, very good. Obviously very well-rounded. Another guy who's worked on his takedown defense and grappling as well. So at this high level, you're going to kind of mix and match, right? The top 5 of this weight class. It's almost like the golden age of 205, man, where the best guy could win on any given night. I feel like any of these guys could catch the other. If that head kick had landed for Leon Edwards a little earlier, maybe Belal doesn't win the belt. If he had gotten one takedown late in the fight, maybe he wins against Jack Della. Like, that's how close these margins are here at the top of this weight class. It's very competitive here for these guys. So we know Belal is a marauding grappler. We know Belal has underrated hands. He doesn't have any power, but he does have good boxing. He has clean, crisp boxing. He uses it very well to set up his takedowns. And I will just always love the highlight of all highlights where he just smothered my hate watch of all hate watches.
And his team talked about his boxing this week. Hands like Canelo Alvarez. Edwards got away with the punch. Landed on the head. Yeah, it looked like maybe he landed on the head there.
Leon Edwards is a guy that I have always had that hate watch vibe for, cashing a ticket on Belal, watching him slam him on his dome that way. It was just the most satisfying night of all time ever, Dan. It was good times. It was good times.
Nice.
Gabriel Bonfim. Weird case here. The dude is 19 and 1. He's 28 years old, so he's not even in his prime just yet. And he's made big improvements. Now, a little bit ago, coming off Dana White's Contender Series, he got knocked out by Nick Dalby, which is a thing that most people don't have happen to them. Let's be real. Nick Dalby is dangerous. He's a veteran, but he doesn't put people away. Right? He doesn't finish people. So there's a bit of a concern there. Both Bonfim bros seem to have a little bit of a cardio issue. And once they tire out, they are not quite the same guy. Now, Bonfim gets back on track. The UFC has kind of fed him some good opposition. He is really sneaky with his grappling game. I remember I took a stab with my boy Chaos against him, and he left Chaos convulsing on the mat when he got that Darce choke. The squeeze this guy has really is incredible. It's very impressive. He wins a greasy split over Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, where, Dan, I'll be honest with you, I'm not convinced he won that fight. I feel like that if there was ever a fight where we could point to and be like, look, Dana made the call. Usually fights could be fixed, like gamblers are looking for fights to get fixed. There's people that are looking to do that kind of shit. I feel like Dana White legitimately he stacks the deck. He wants certain guys to do well, but he usually just kind of lets the chips fall where they may. He made the call when Paddy Pimblett lost to Jared Gordon, and he made the call when Gabriel Bonfim gets the split decision over Stephen Thompson, right? Like those are two guys that Dana was like, no, we ain't having this happen here. So I'm sus on that one. But then the fight with Randy Brown, it got weird. Let me play this clip for you guys.
That's when he attacks that leg.
Randy Brown is protesting.
Now, they stop the fight. Randy protests immediately. He does flop back, and it does look bad. But his eyes are clear, and he is staring directly at his opponent, Dan. And when his opponent gets up to come towards him, he immediately moves to defend himself. So I think he was stunned. I think he was hurt. But I do think that was a bit of an early stoppage. I'm not going to lie. It's been a weird run for Gabriel Bonfim, and now he's stepping into the true contenders circle. I have just this impulse to auto click and go, it's revenge season for Belal Muhammad, because he's going to come put a pace on this man like he's never felt before. You do not submit Belal Muhammad. In fact, you do not finish Belal Muhammad. Belal has one knockout loss on his resume, and that was 2016 prime Vicente Luque who did that. Gabriel Bonfim has good chopping leg kicks. He is tall. He is long. He does have those knees. But I think this is a guy Belal can break, Dan. I'm going to be honest with you. Over 25 minutes, I really wouldn't be surprised if Belal actually finds a way to get a finish in this fight, because Bonfim, I think, will close up shop if he gets tired. And if Belal really does maul him the way he's mauled other people, there's no Rocky round 5 comeback for a guy like Gabriel Bonfim. He doesn't dig that deep. He doesn't have that big of a gas tank, you know? I could see Belal getting a mercy stoppage or maybe even a submission later in this fight, as long as he avoids the big power early, as long as he doesn't get caught in like a Darce choke or something like that. If you're going to a greasy, tight split decision with a guy like Stephen Thompson in 2025, like I think Belal is going to just massacre you. I don't think the dude's done yet because he lost to two really championship caliber fighters, right? Like the number 2 and the number 4 guy in the division. That doesn't mean you're shot to me. If he goes out there and understands the assignment and puts a pace on Bonfim and puts him on the back foot, I think Belal wins this fight. And as always, my man is getting disrespected. Former champion opened up the dog in this fight, Dan. It immediately got bet to where it should have been, which is Belal being a small favorite. He's minus 125 now. He's been kind of flirting between minus 120 and minus 135. It's been bouncing back and forth. There does seem to be some two-way action here on this one. I think this is just a fuck it, we ball moment. Like, I understand the younger guy, the more dangerous guy, the guy the UFC wants to win. Like, all of the narratives are on the side of Bonfim. But at the end of the day, you got to get in that cage and you got to win the fight. And I don't think Bonfim has a clear, like, staple win. I thought he lost against Thompson. It was a close, tentative striking fight with Randy Brown with a little bit of an early stoppage for the win. And then what? He beat Ange Lusa. He choked out Trevin Giles and Chaos Williams. Like, he's been fighting legitimate bums. And the one guy that put it on him, Nicholas Dalby, finished him in the second round. I got Belal, man. And I'm going to sprinkle that 3-4-5, Dan. I'm going to sprinkle a late finish on Belal. I'm going to remember the name. He's going to come out there and he's going to get this dude out of there. People think Belal can't finish anybody. This is the week.
I love it, man. I think, yeah, that all makes sense. I mean, I think if you want anything on this fight, which I'm actually not excited to bet this fight, spoiler alert, but I do think it's rounds 1 and 2 Bonfim, rounds 3, 4, and 5 pre-flop for Belal. And you were talking about live betting earlier, Clint. I think this is a perfect live betting fight here for Belal Muhammad. He's more than playable. I mean, you missed the slight plus money that he opened at. There's practically opened at pick'em. And that's the problem here with even with the
I'm not crying over this one, Dan. Like this is the kind of line move. I'm not getting in at minus 170.
Sure.
I mean, he opened on those soft openers where people can get, $50 down at like plus 200 or something. I'm never going to hit those. I could have got plus 105 if I was quick enough. I'll lay minus 125 and instead of getting plus 105. That's not a big enough difference for me to be upset about.
Totally. So it feels, that's why I'm saying it. That's why I say it kind of feels silly saying what I'm saying as far as a live bet, because you're not going to get like a crazy better price. You're already getting a good price, to Clint's point. My argument, I guess I would say, is what you're buying with a live bet is not so much the price differentials, what you're hunting. What you would be your objective for a Belal live bet would be trying to avoid getting spoiled and knocked out by something in the first 2 rounds. That's what you're buying with a Belal live bet, in my opinion. Now, if you're bullish on it, again, to Clint's point, he's more than playable. And I share the same pick as Clint here. I'm picking Belal Muhammad. He's the more proven fighter. He's 4-1-1 in that UFC Apex. He's actually 4-0-1 in that Apex, right? The loss comes in his first fight against Alan Jouban. I don't even think it was a tough finale. Remember I mentioned the Peter Yan versus Merab Dvalishvili, where those fights that are in the cards that happen in a small cage that people don't realize, it doesn't pop out on. You remember this card, Clint? Remember before slap fighting, we actually got like 2 or 3 card super fight weeks, and they had like Joanna Gadelia for the strawweight title right in the middle for the tough finale card. They had the Connor and Aldo or Connor and Mendez, I think it was, on that third card. And the very first card was also in the small cage and was headlined by another title fight, Rafael dos Anjos versus Eddie Alvarez. I remember cashing a nice plus 300 or better on Eddie freaking Alvarez to win the title. And that was on that card in that cage where Belal Muhammad lost to Alan Jouban. And I just long-winded to bring that up because if you look at Belal's losses, a lot of it is either footwork and movement. You need to beat him, right? Or you need to be a lights-out left-sided striker, right? Whether it's the left-sided strikes of a Jeff Neal, or the left hook, the first fight against Vicente Luque, is because Belal Muhammad, he gets hit with a lot of right hands in his last fight against Ian Gary. But outside of that, I've clocked it multiple times. he gets hit with a disproportionate amount of left-sided strikes. That's why I faded him against Southpaw. Even though he's done better against them as of late. He traditionally has had a negative record. He's maybe beating like an old Damian Maia in a smart counter grappling performance. But that's kind of been the thing. Now, Bonfim comes from Serrato MMA, which was Vicente Luque's old camp, and they both have that left hook. And Bonfim has, better than Luque, in my opinion, calf kicks and even knees, arguably, as we saw, right? These are all things that work on the wrestle boxing stature of Belal. Belal's going to be looking for takedowns. Bonfim, even though he gives position more than he gets the guillotine, he does have a guillotine that is dangerous and he will go for. So there are plenty of pathways for Bonfim to win. I think he's a live dog. There's just not enough meat on the bone for me to go and want to play the dog here against the more proven product. So I'm going to go with Belal. And I guess last thing I'll say with Belal, and this is in defense of Belal backers like yourself, Clint, maybe may feel a little better. I don't like to take anything too much of away, but this kind of tracks and makes sense. And I'm a fan of Ian Gary too, as well, as far as his fighting style goes, right? Like, he's very underrated, good game planner. But Belal was doing an interview with my colleague at Junkie, Farah Hanoun. Really good interview. Shout out to Farah. And he actually was having like vertical convulsions and stuff like after that weigh-in. He's never had it before. He doesn't know what happened. It was documented by the UFC's medical team too. In fact, he almost didn't make the walk versus Ian Gary. And Belal,
really?
Yeah, and Belal, and even he wasn't even being like spoiled milk excuses, because his attitude, even in this interview, was just like, dude, I wasn't honestly beating myself up for losing, because I didn't even think I was going to be able to make it through that fight or to the fight. So he was just happy to even make it through it. So that kind of worries me for Belal, because he doesn't seem like he's cutting a lot of weight. He is getting older at 38, but at the same time, bad weight cuts do happen in this sport, and
yeah.
And he was still competitive with Gary, even though it was a clear win for Gary, in my opinion. He was still competitive with him for what it's worth. So yeah, man, I'm not ready to throw Belal out with the baby with the bathwater quite yet. Give me Belal here, but I'm just not in a rush to bet this fight, Clint. No bets as of now.
Okay. Yeah, man. I don't have any bets locked in as of now, but I do just want to kind of run through this real quick. I think it's really chalky, man. I think the whole card is really chalky. We both kind of think that Jordan Leavitt might be a little bit live. You spoke some truth there.
Sure.
My gut said Joanderson Brito, but as we're talking through it, we think Leavitt might be live. I do think Priscila Cachoeira is live. Cháirez, all these little short dogs. I like the dog side of all of the coin flips, man. Santiago Luna, my dog of the week, I will be betting him at plus 120. Bilal Muhammad at minus 125. I will be betting him as well. And then really it's chalk from there. I like Ziam. I think he's going to win by knockout. So I don't know if I'm going to parlay him up or if I'll look for the KO prop and just say, fuck it, we ball and go for it. I think the chalky women earlier in the evening also I like. So I like Souza, I like Chaves. And I do hot take. I think both of them have a shot at finishing as well. Women's MMA finish is a lot harder to come by. So I'm not sure if I'm going to play those inside the distance or again, maybe look for like a 2 or 3 leg or parlay, that kind of thing. Marcus McGhee, you and I both agree that he's probably the side in that one. No shocker there. And then there's some danger because of the way the dude fights, but I do think he wins as well. So you guys, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't usually do like a recap if I haven't bet anything, but this is a fight card that I can see myself very intentionally getting down on in kind of not a big way, but you know what I mean? I've always got like a mid-level card, right? Like I've always got a handful of bets. This is kind of an action-packed card. It's very chalky. You're going to have to get even money. You're going to have to lay it a little bit in some of these cases, but I do think the chalk is worth it in some of these fights.
Yeah, man. And to your credit, you call it dumpster diving, but from an outside observer who's been following you, Clint, I feel like you do better on these shows. And I think you would say the same thing, like as somebody you find, kind of treasures in the proverbial trash can where everyone's shitting on the Apex cards. Right. And for me, I don't look at it the same way, but I kind of have the same attitude and arguably the same record with some of my hits is because I'm a real big fan of grapplers. I'm like, shout out to our mutual Liam picks fights over there.
Hell yeah.
We us grapplers tend to like look at the grapplers and those submission edges. So you give us the small cage fighting terrain. I love that. It's been a pretty profitable angle. Doesn't always work out. It's dependent on the matchups, folks. But in general, that's been my guiding light for these cards, and usually it's a decent one to keep you in check.
I like it. My man, Dan, thank you so much for hanging out with me on the show tonight. Always a good time when you come on. We always go a little bit long whenever you come on too. So
sorry, yeah, long time there.
Yeah, it's what we do. Hope everybody buckled in and had a good show. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and watching. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe if you haven't. But most importantly, check out my man, Dan. He was just talking about how he was on the Kinney and Florian podcast. Like this guy, even like the experts know my man knows what he's talking about. So he's definitely a good follow. Good vibes all around. Make sure you give him a follow. His links are in the description below. And Dan, of course, the floor is yours. If you want to advertise anything, if you've got any sponsors or shows coming up, whatever, feel free, man. Go ahead.
Oh, no worries, man. Just been doing more interviews for Home of Fight. Going to be covering the McGregor Holloway card here in Vegas. I'll be on the ground for that one if anybody's in town. And yeah, all my stuff, whether it's for Junkie or Action Network or whatever, like it's or my Substack, it's all at Dan Tom MMA. You can find me on socials, and I post it all on the artist formerly known as Twitter is where I'm most active, at Dan Tom MMA. And make sure you like and support this show because my guy Clint deserves it. It's one of the most fun shows to do, but more importantly, there's not many like good communities and whatnot. And like, don't get me wrong, like we all don't have to like everybody. Not everybody has to get along. But I will say, man, Clint, genuinely, your chat, your community, people who have reached out, like some of the cooler people in this space, man. So I got to give you props for that, brother.
Oh, thank you, my guy. We've worked really hard to build the best community, and there's several former haters in this chat that's what we do, man. We have so much fun.
Nice.
We share the good vibe that we just kind of sucker people in and then we win them over. It's the game we play. So definitely proud of the chat that I've got going, proud of the community. The diehard horde is strong, my man. Appreciate you coming on the show. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and listening. Thank you so much. Please, I was really bad last week because I was on vacation. You guys, you know, if you leave comments in the description or whatever after the show, I always try to get back to everybody. I didn't get back to all of you last week, and I do apologize. Like I said, I was at the beach. I was chasing my daughter. I was playing, get this, whitest thing of all time, Dan. I was playing giant Yahtzee on the beach with my wife and her siblings. So yes, I was out there, fat dad on the beach with the t-shirt on, rolling giant dice to play Yahtzee. It was pretty fucking awesome, actually. I'm not gonna lie. So I will get back to you all this week, I promise. If you have something to say or a thought or a question, please jump in the comments and I will be sure to get back to you guys. We will have Clint's Hot Props and the Total Takedown, and of course the Friday undefeated post weigh-in show, like we always do. Wait, are we fusing? Is that?
I was with the Scott Hall, but yeah, fusion as well. You know, it's half DBZ, half my love for a little Scott Hall Razor Ramon there.
Hell yeah. All right, guys, that'll do it. For myself, for my man Dan, that was the Die Hard MMA podcast. Love you guys. Kick some ass. Let's make some money this week. Let's go for 3. Let's make it a 3-fight win streak. And it's all going to come on the back of my boy Belal. Let's roll.